I want you to pause for a moment and consider a possibility that may quietly change the way you see your life. What if the universe is not a distant force watching you from somewhere beyond the stars? What if it is something far more intimate than that? What if the universe is constantly listening to you, responding to you, adjusting itself around you, not because you beg for it, not because you deserve it, but because it must answer the signal that comes from within you? You may think that your life is shaped by circumstances, by luck, by other people, or by events that appear random. But beneath everything you see on the surface, there exists a deeper law operating with perfect consistency. The universe does not respond primarily to your words. It does not respond to the wishes you repeat or the goals you write down. The universe responds to the vibration you embody. It listens to the emotional frequency that flows quietly from your inner state. Every thought you hold with feeling becomes a signal. Every emotion you repeat becomes a pattern. And those patterns are not lost in empty space. They move outward through the invisible fabric of existence like ripples across a still lake. The universe receives those ripples and reflects them back to you as experiences, opportunities, relationships, and circumstances. This means something very important for you to understand. Your life is not merely happening to you, in ways that are often subtle and unconscious. You are broadcasting the instructions that shape it. Imagine a tuning fork struck gently in a silent room. Its vibration is not loud, but it carries a precise frequency. If another tuning fork nearby shares the same frequency, it begins to vibrate as well. The universe operates in a remarkably similar way. Your emotional state becomes a tuning fork that resonates through reality, and whatever matches that frequency begins to appear in your life. If your dominant inner state is worry, the universe does not interpret that as a request for peace. It simply recognizes the frequency of worry and reflects situations that sustain that vibration. If your inner state carries gratitude and quiet confidence, the universe does not question it or analyze it. It simply mirrors that vibration through circumstances that reinforce it. This is why effort alone so often fails people. You may work harder, think more, and try desperately to change your situation. But if your inner signal remains rooted in fear or doubt, the universe continues responding to that deeper frequency. Words cannot override vibration. Intentions cannot overpower emotional truth. You may have noticed this in moments of your own life. There are times when everything seems to align effortlessly. Opportunities appear at the perfect moment. The right people enter your path. Solutions arrive almost mysteriously. In those moments, you were likely not forcing anything. You were simply in a state of alignment, carrying an inner atmosphere that matched what you desired. Then there are other moments when everything feels like resistance. Doors close, plans collapse, delays multiply, and the harder you push, the heavier the struggle becomes. These moments are not punishment, they are reflection. The universe is responding faithfully to the signal you are transmitting. You see, the universe does not judge your signal. It does not decide whether your vibration is good or bad. It simply responds. Just as gravity does not choose which objects to pull toward the earth, the universal law of vibration responds automatically to the emotional energy you hold most consistently. This realization may feel surprising at first, because it shifts the center of power back to you. It means the external world is not the primary cause of your experience. The internal state you carry becomes the quiet architect, shaping your reality. You are not simply reacting to life. In many ways, life is reacting to you. This does not mean you must control every thought that crosses your mind. Human consciousness is fluid and ever-changing, but the universe responds to the emotional patterns you repeat most often. Those patterns become the signal your soul sends continuously into the fabric of existence. Think of your consciousness as a broadcasting tower. Every moment, it transmits a frequency. Sometimes that frequency carries fear. Sometimes it carries hope. Sometimes it carries quiet certainty. And the universe, acting as a vast field of intelligent resonance, organizes circumstances around that broadcast. When you begin to understand this law, something profound shifts inside you. You realize that changing your life does not begin by forcing the outer world. It begins by adjusting the signal within. Instead of asking, Why is this happening to me? You begin asking a different question. What frequency am I sending into the world right now? This question alone can transform the way you approach every experience. Because when you recognize that your emotional state is the language the universe hears most clearly, you start becoming more aware of the signals you transmit. Gratitude sends a signal of abundance. Peace sends a signal of harmony. Confidence sends a signal of opportunity. And the universe responds to each of these signals with unwavering precision. The remarkable truth is that this power has always been within you. You have always been participating in the creation of your experience, even during the times you were unaware of it. The difference now is awareness. When you understand that your inner vibration acts as a command to the universe, you begin to step into a new role. You are no longer a passive observer of life. You become a conscious participant in the unfolding of reality itself. The universe is not resisting you. It is listening to you. It listens through the signal of your thoughts, the rhythm of your emotions, and the quiet conviction that lives beneath your words. And once you recognize this truth, you begin to realize something extraordinary. The world around you is not simply a collection of events. It is a living mirror responding to the music of your soul. I want you to understand something that most people overlook when they first begin exploring manifestation. They believe the secret lies in repeating the right phrases, writing the right affirmations, or speaking their desires into the universe often enough that eventually reality will listen. But the universe is not persuaded by repetition, and it is not impressed by eloquent language. The universe responds to something far more fundamental than words. It responds to feeling. What you feel consistently becomes the message your soul sends into the invisible field of creation, and that message carries far more authority than anything you say aloud. You may have noticed this in your own life without realizing it. There have been times when you spoke confidently about success or happiness, yet deep inside you felt uncertainty or doubt. Despite the words you used, circumstances continued reflecting that hidden doubt. On other occasions you may have said very little, yet something inside you felt calm and certain, and suddenly events began unfolding in ways that seemed almost miraculous. This difference reveals the true language through which manifestation operates. Words are simply symbols, but emotions are frequencies, and frequencies are what the universe hears most clearly. Think of your emotional state as a signal that travels through the invisible fabric, connecting consciousness and creation. Just as a radio station transmits a specific wavelength that receivers must tune into, your feelings broadcast a vibrational pattern that reality naturally begins to match. When you say you desire abundance but feel anxious about money, the vibration you are sending is not abundance but lack. The universe faithfully reflects the vibration of lack, bringing experiences that reinforce the emotional state you are already carrying. But when you begin to feel the quiet satisfaction of having enough, even before external evidence appears, the signal changes. Your inner atmosphere becomes one of fulfillment rather than absence, and the universe reorganizes itself to match that frequency. This is why manifestation cannot be forced through effort alone. Effort belongs to the mind, but manifestation belongs to the heart. The mind can analyze and plan, yet it cannot create the energetic resonance that draws new circumstances into existence. Only your emotional state can do that. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the moment when thought becomes alive with energy and begins influencing the world beyond you. Without feeling, words are empty containers. With feeling, even the simplest thought becomes a powerful command. You might imagine the universe as a vast field of energy constantly responding to emotional signals the way a garden responds to sunlight. If you plant seeds while standing in fear, those seeds grow slowly and unevenly because the energy around them carries tension. But if you plant seeds in the warmth of gratitude and expectation, the soil of reality becomes fertile and responsive. The difference is not in the seed itself, but in the emotional climate surrounding it. Your feelings determine the environment in which your desires attempt to grow. Consider the way people often approach their dreams. They write affirmations, repeat positive phrases, and visualize their goals. Yet beneath all of this effort, there remains a subtle tension. They are trying to convince themselves that something will happen in the future. The energy behind their words still contains waiting, hoping, and sometimes desperation. But the universe cannot respond to hope in the way most people imagine. Hope implies that something is missing, and when the signal of missing is transmitted repeatedly, reality reflects more situations that sustain that sense of absence. True manifestation begins when the emotional state shifts from hoping to feeling. When you feel the quiet relief of your desire already fulfilled, your inner world changes completely. Instead of reaching toward something outside yourself, you begin embodying the experience internally. This subtle change is powerful because the universe responds to what you embody rather than what you request. The moment you begin feeling abundance, peace, love, or success within your own consciousness, you are no longer asking the universe to create those things. You are aligning with them, and alignment allows manifestation to flow naturally. Imagine for a moment how different your life would feel if you walked through each day carrying the emotional state of your fulfilled desires. Instead of worrying about how things will work out, you would move with quiet confidence. Instead of analyzing every obstacle, you would notice opportunities appearing more easily. Your thoughts would still exist, but they would no longer dominate your experience. Your emotional atmosphere would lead the way, guiding your actions and decisions with surprising clarity. And the universe would respond to that emotional certainty with remarkable precision. You may begin to notice that certain people naturally live this way without consciously studying manifestation. They carry a sense of calm expectation that things will work out in their favor, even when challenges arise. Their inner state remains steady. Because of this, opportunities often seem to find them. Their lives appear fortunate, but their fortune is simply the reflection of a consistent emotional signal. The universe hears the vibration of their certainty and organizes circumstances that match it. This is the deeper meaning behind the phrase that life reflects your inner world. The universe does not analyze your intentions or judge the worthiness of your desires. It simply echoes the emotional tone you hold most often. Your feelings are like instructions, quietly shaping the patterns of your future experiences. Every moment you spend in gratitude sends a signal of abundance. Every moment you spend in fear reinforces the vibration of limitation. Over time, these signals become the blueprint from which reality builds your life. Once you recognize this truth, something powerful becomes available to you. You begin to realize that manifestation is not about controlling the external world. It is about mastering your internal state. Instead of chasing circumstances, you cultivate the feeling that corresponds with the life you wish to experience. That feeling becomes your signal to the universe, and the universe, ever faithful to the law of vibration, responds by bringing into your life the experiences that match the frequency you are broadcasting. So the question you must begin asking yourself is not simply what you want. The deeper question is what you feel, because the universe listens not to the sentences you speak but to the emotional music playing quietly within your soul. And once you learn to guide that music deliberately, you discover that manifestation is not something distant or mysterious. It is the natural response of reality to the vibration you choose to embody. I want you to consider a truth that may change the way you interpret every experience in your life. The universe is not merely a place where events happen randomly. It behaves more like a mirror, one that reflects not only what you do, but more importantly, what you feel. Every emotional state you hold becomes a signal sent into the living field of existence, and that field responds with remarkable precision. This means that what appears in your external world is often a reflection of the emotional climate you carry within. Once you begin to see life through this lens, many of the patterns that once seemed mysterious start to reveal their deeper meaning. You may have noticed that certain moods seem to attract matching circumstances. When you wake in a state of quiet gratitude, the day often unfolds with surprising ease. Small moments of kindness appear. Opportunities present themselves naturally. Even ordinary events feel lighter. But on days when your mind is crowded with worry or frustration, something different happens. Delays seem to multiply. Conversations become tense. The world appears to resist your efforts. These experiences are not coincidences. They are reflections. The universe mirrors the emotional signal you are sending. Think of your emotional state as the atmosphere surrounding your life. Just as the climate of a region influences the type of plants that grow there, the emotional climate within your consciousness influences the kinds of experiences that emerge around you. If your inner world is dominated by anxiety, the universe responds by presenting situations that match that vibration. These situations may appear as financial pressure, relationship conflict, or unexpected obstacles, yet they are not punishments. They are simply echoes of the emotional frequency already active within you. This mirror principle operates with extraordinary consistency because the universe does not interpret your feelings as problems to fix. It treats them as instructions to follow. Whatever emotional tone you sustain becomes the pattern the universe reproduces in physical reality. When your heart resonates with appreciation and trust, life begins arranging events that reinforce those feelings. When your emotional energy revolves around fear or frustration, reality reflects those frequencies back through matching circumstances. The mirror never lies. It simply shows you the vibration you are holding most strongly. Consider how this principle appeared in the life of a man named Benjamin. For years, he struggled with persistent setbacks in his career. Every new opportunity seemed to collapse before it could fully develop. At first, he believed he was simply unlucky, but gradually he began to notice something deeper. His inner dialogue was constantly filled with doubt. Even when good possibilities appeared, he felt certain they would eventually fail, without realizing it. He was carrying the emotional expectation of disappointment. The universe, faithful to its reflective nature, responded by arranging experiences that confirmed his belief. Each setback strengthened the pattern, and the pattern continued shaping his reality. One evening, Benjamin grew tired of this cycle and decided to examine the emotional atmosphere he had been carrying for so long. Instead of focusing on what had gone wrong, he began noticing small aspects of his life that still held value. He appreciated the friends who supported him, the skills he had developed, and the simple opportunity to begin again. Slowly, his emotional state began shifting from frustration to quiet gratitude. This shift did not change his circumstances immediately, but it altered the signal he was sending into the world. Within weeks, conversations began leading to unexpected connections. A project that once seemed impossible suddenly gained support. The mirror had changed because the reflection within it had changed. You see, the universe does not distinguish between large emotions and small ones. It responds to whatever pattern you repeat most consistently. If your inner world frequently returns to feelings of lack, those feelings become the dominant signal shaping your experience. But when gratitude, trust, and appreciation become your habitual emotional state, the reflection begins to transform. The same external world starts presenting new possibilities because the energy interacting with it has shifted. This mirror principle also explains why some people seem to move through life with remarkable ease. They are not necessarily more intelligent or more fortunate than others. They simply maintain an emotional frequency that aligns with cooperation rather than conflict. Their thoughts tend to rest on possibility rather than limitation, because their inner state carries expectation instead of fear. The universe reflects that expectation through events that appear fortunate. What others call luck is often nothing more than emotional alignment repeated over time. Understanding this truth does not mean you must suppress every negative feeling. Emotions naturally rise and fall as part of being human. What matters most is the pattern you return to most often. If you allow moments of frustration to pass and consciously return to gratitude or calm awareness, the overall signal you send into the universe remains harmonious. But if worry becomes the emotion you revisit repeatedly, that vibration gradually shapes the experiences surrounding you. The mirror of the universe is always responding, even when you are not aware of it. Every reaction you hold becomes part of the reflection forming around your life. This means that changing your reality begins not with forcing external events, but with adjusting the emotional tone you sustain within yourself. When you shift your internal atmosphere, the reflection inevitably changes as well. Imagine standing before a lake so still that its surface reflects the sky perfectly. If the sky is filled with dark clouds, the water appears dark as well. But when the clouds clear and sunlight fills the horizon, the lake transforms into a field of shimmering light. The water itself has not changed its nature. It simply reflects whatever appears above it. The universe behaves in a remarkably similar way. Your emotional state becomes the sky, and reality becomes the surface that reflects it. Once you understand this principle, You begin to recognize the extraordinary power hidden within your daily emotions. Each feeling you sustain is quietly shaping the reflection that will appear in your future experiences. Gratitude creates reflections of abundance. Calm expectation invites harmony. Compassion attracts supportive relationships. And when you learn to guide your emotional state intentionally, you begin influencing the mirror rather than being surprised by its reflections. The universe is always listening, always responding, always reflecting. It does not ask whether your feelings are logical or justified. It simply mirrors the energy you embody. And when you realize that every emotional signal you carry becomes part of the reflection shaping your world, you begin to understand why mastering your inner state is the true beginning of mastering your life. I want you to look carefully at one of the most important turning points in the journey of manifestation. It is the moment when a person moves from the emotional state of scarcity into the quiet frequency of gratitude. This shift may appear small on the surface, yet it changes everything about the signal you are sending into the universe. Scarcity is the vibration of absence. Gratitude is the vibration of presence, and the universe responds very differently to each of these states. When you live in scarcity, your attention constantly searches for what is missing. When you live in gratitude, your awareness recognizes what is already flowing into your life. The first state contracts your energy, while the second expands it. Many people spend years trying to change their circumstances without realizing that the emotional lens through which they view life is shaping those circumstances continuously. Scarcity is not only about money or resources. It is a mindset that quietly whispers that there is not enough, that opportunities are limited, that success belongs to others, and that the future must be approached with caution. When this mindset becomes familiar, it colors every thought and every expectation. The person may work hard and speak confidently, yet beneath the surface their emotional state is still communicating lack. And because the universe mirrors vibration rather than intention, life continues reflecting situations that confirm the feeling of limitation. Scarcity creates a kind of internal tension. When you believe that something essential is missing, your mind becomes preoccupied with solving that absence. You analyze, calculate, and struggle to push circumstances into the shape you desire. But the more intensely you focus on what is missing, the more powerful that signal becomes. The universe hears the emotional message of absence and faithfully reflects more experiences that reinforce that same feeling. It is not doing this to oppose you. It is simply responding to the frequency that dominates your consciousness. The moment of transformation arrives when you begin shifting your attention away from what is missing and toward what already exists. This is where gratitude becomes more than a polite habit. It becomes a powerful alignment with the creative flow of the universe. Gratitude changes the emotional climate within your mind. Instead of searching for lack, your awareness begins recognizing the countless forms of support already surrounding you. The air you breathe, the shelter that protects you, the knowledge you carry, the people who care about you, the opportunities still waiting to unfold. These may appear ordinary, yet when you truly feel appreciation for them, your vibration changes immediately. Imagine a man named Milton who once lived under the heavy pressure of financial uncertainty. Each evening he sat at his kitchen table calculating bills, worrying about how he would manage the coming weeks. His thoughts revolved around numbers that never seemed to add up. The more he focused on the problem, the more overwhelming it appeared. Scarcity had become the emotional atmosphere of his life. Even when small opportunities appeared, he struggled to recognize them because his attention remained fixed on what he lacked. The universe reflected this tension back through continued challenges. One evening, exhausted from months of worry, Milton decided to step away from his calculations and simply sit in silence. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to notice what still remained in his life. He felt grateful for the roof above his head, the warmth of the room around him, and the quiet possibility that tomorrow could unfold differently. It was not a dramatic moment, yet something subtle shifted within him. Instead of feeling trapped by scarcity, he felt a small but genuine sense of appreciation. That feeling changed the signal he was sending into the world. Over the following days, Milton continued this simple practice. Each morning he found something to appreciate before allowing worry to enter his thoughts. At first the list was small, But gradually his awareness expanded. He noticed helpful conversations, unexpected kindness, and new ideas that had previously escaped his attention. The emotional state of gratitude began replacing the constant pressure of lack. And as his vibration shifted, the universe responded. A former colleague contacted him with a project opportunity that had been waiting quietly in the background. New income followed soon after, not as a sudden miracle, but as a natural consequence of the alignment he had created within himself. The shift from scarcity to gratitude does not require you to ignore real challenges. Instead, it changes the way you approach them. When your emotional state is rooted in appreciation, your mind becomes more open to possibilities. Creativity replaces fear, and solutions appear where obstacles once seemed permanent. Gratitude creates an atmosphere in which opportunities can grow because it signals to the universe that you are already connected to abundance rather than separated from it. You may wonder why gratitude holds such influence over manifestation. The reason lies in the message it communicates. When you feel genuine appreciation, you are acknowledging that life is already giving to you. This acknowledgement carries the frequency of receiving. The universe recognizes this frequency as readiness for more. In contrast, when your attention remains fixed on absence, you are unconsciously declaring that abundance is not yet present. The universe mirrors that declaration faithfully. Gratitude, therefore, becomes the bridge between desire and fulfillment. It shifts your focus from waiting for something to happen to recognizing that the flow of creation is already active around you. Think of gratitude as sunlight warming the soil of possibility. Seeds grow most easily where warmth and nourishment exist. When appreciation fills your awareness, your desires begin developing in that supportive environment. You do not need to force their growth. The universe simply responds to the signal of abundance you are now transmitting. Each moment of gratitude strengthens that signal, allowing new circumstances to form around it naturally. The remarkable truth is that this transformation is available to you at any moment. You do not have to wait for perfect conditions to feel grateful. The shift begins internally. As soon as you recognize even a small blessing and allow genuine appreciation to arise, your alignment with the creative flow of the universe begins changing. Scarcity loosens its hold, and gratitude becomes the new emotional foundation of your life. This first shift of alignment is often the beginning of everything that follows. Once gratitude becomes your natural response to life, the universe no longer hears the signal of lack. It hears the quiet resonance of abundance already unfolding within you. And from that moment forward, reality begins arranging itself to reflect the truth you have finally chosen to feel. I want you to notice something that most people never question. When they desire something deeply, their first instinct is to ask for it again and again. They repeat requests in their prayers. They write affirmations dozens of times. They speak their wishes out loud, hoping the universe will finally hear them. Yet beneath all of this asking, there is often a hidden emotion: uncertainty. The request is repeated not because the universe cannot hear, but because the person does not yet believe the answer already exists. And that uncertainty becomes the signal the universe responds to. Desperate asking carries a very specific vibration. It is the emotional language of doubt. When someone pleads repeatedly for change, the feeling behind those words quietly declares that the desired reality is still far away. The universe does not interpret the request itself. It responds to the emotional state beneath it. So if the request is driven by anxiety, impatience, or fear, those vibrations become the blueprint from which new experiences are formed. The result is often a frustrating cycle where the person continues asking more intensely, believing persistence alone will force reality to respond. But manifestation does not work through force. It works through alignment. True alignment begins when asking gives way to certainty. Certainty is not loud or dramatic. It does not demand proof or constant reassurance. It is a quiet inner state that knows something is already unfolding, even before visible evidence appears. When certainty enters your consciousness, your relationship with desire changes completely. Instead of begging the universe to provide what you want, you begin standing in the emotional position of someone who already trusts that it is on its way. This shift may appear subtle, but it alters the vibration you transmit into the creative field of reality. Think of the difference between a person who plants a seed and then trusts the process of growth, and another who digs the seed up every day to check whether it is growing. The second person may believe they are being attentive, yet their constant interference prevents the seed from developing naturally. Desperate asking works in the same way. When you continually question whether your desire will appear, you interrupt the natural unfolding of the creative process. Certainty, on the other hand, allows life to organize itself around your intention without unnecessary resistance. This is where surrender becomes essential. Many people misunderstand surrender as giving up, but in the language of manifestation, surrender means something entirely different. It means releasing the need to control every detail of how your desire will appear. The universe operates through pathways far more intricate than the human mind can calculate. When you try to force the exact route through which your dreams must arrive, you limit the infinite possibilities available to you. Surrender removes that limitation. It creates space for the universe to deliver your desire in ways that may be more elegant, more efficient, and more surprising than anything you could have planned. Imagine a woman named Clara who longed for a new opportunity in her professional life. For months, she sent applications, repeated affirmations, and anxiously waited for responses. Each morning she woke with the same question: will today finally bring the answer? Her efforts were sincere, yet her emotional state remained tense and uncertain. Every silence from employers felt like proof that her desire was still distant. One afternoon, after another disappointing message, Clara paused and recognized the pattern she had created. She realized that her constant asking was fueled by fear rather than trust. Instead of continuing the cycle, she chose to shift her inner state. She decided that if the opportunity truly belonged to her future, it would arrive through the right path at the right time. This decision changed the way she approached each day. Instead of checking her email with anxious anticipation, she focused on cultivating confidence in her abilities and appreciation for the work she had already done. She stopped begging the universe for results and began living as though the outcome was already in motion. Within weeks, a former mentor reached out unexpectedly, offering a collaboration that opened the door to the exact type of work Clara had been seeking. The opportunity did not arrive through the path she had imagined, but through a route that surrender made possible. The end of desperate asking is not the end of desire. It is the beginning of a deeper relationship with trust. When certainty replaces anxiety, your emotional signal becomes steady and coherent. The universe responds to this stability because it reflects a state of alignment rather than conflict. Instead of broadcasting the vibration of lack, you are now transmitting the frequency of quiet expectation. That expectation communicates readiness. It tells the universe that you are prepared to receive what you once felt uncertain about. This shift also changes the way you experience time. When you are trapped in desperate asking, every moment feels like a delay. You measure your progress by the absence of results, and impatience grows stronger with each passing day. Certainty dissolves that tension. You understand that the process of manifestation unfolds through a sequence of events that must align naturally. Instead of waiting anxiously for the future, you begin living fully in the present, knowing that each step is already guiding you toward the realization of your desire. Surrender and certainty together create a powerful emotional environment. They calm the restless mind and allow your deeper intuition to guide your actions. Opportunities that once seemed hidden begin appearing clearly because your awareness is no longer clouded by fear. You respond to situations with clarity rather than urgency, and this clarity allows the universe to coordinate circumstances more effectively. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this state is the peace it brings. When you no longer feel the need to plead for outcomes, your relationship with life becomes more harmonious. You move through each day with a sense of partnership rather than struggle. The universe is no longer something you must convince or persuade. It becomes a cooperative force, responding naturally to the certainty you carry within. And this is the quiet secret behind the end of desperate asking. The moment you trust that your desire is already finding its way toward you, the energy of your entire life changes. You stop shouting your requests into the vastness of the universe. Instead, you stand calmly in the knowledge that the creative process has already heard your signal. From that moment forward, your role is no longer to beg for what you want. but simply to remain aligned with the certainty that it is already unfolding. I want you to consider a truth that quietly shapes far more of your life than you may realize. It is not only what you desire that determines what enters your experience, it is what you believe you are worthy of receiving. Many people speak confidently about the dreams they want to manifest. Yet deep within their emotional world, there exists a quiet hesitation, a subtle belief that those things may belong to others, but not entirely to them. This hesitation often goes unnoticed, but the universe recognizes it immediately. Because self-worth forms one of the strongest signals your consciousness sends into reality. You may ask the universe for abundance, for love, for opportunity. But if a hidden voice within you whispers that you are not quite deserving of those things, that voice becomes part of the vibration shaping your life. The universe does not analyze the logic of that belief. It simply responds to the frequency it carries. When self-doubt becomes the background of your emotional state, reality begins arranging experiences that confirm that doubt. Opportunities pass by unnoticed. Relationships feel uncertain. Success seems to arrive only briefly before fading again. These patterns are not punishments. They are reflections of the permission you have given yourself to receive. Self-worth is the foundation of that permission. It is the quiet conviction that you belong in the flow of life's abundance. When you possess this conviction, receiving becomes natural. You accept kindness without suspicion. You welcome opportunities without fear of losing them. Your emotional state becomes open rather than defensive, and the universe responds to that openness by continuing the flow of giving. But when self-worth is fragile, receiving can feel uncomfortable. Compliments may be dismissed. Opportunities may be questioned. Gifts may be accepted with hesitation. This resistance creates subtle interruptions in the energetic exchange between you and the universe. Imagine a woman named Eleanor who spent many years believing that success belonged to people more talented than she was. Although she worked diligently and cared deeply about her goals, she carried an inner belief that she was always one step behind those who truly deserved recognition. Whenever a new opportunity appeared, she approached it cautiously, expecting that someone more capable would eventually take her place. Her external efforts were strong, but her emotional signal carried uncertainty about her own value. The universe reflected this uncertainty faithfully. Promotions passed to others. Projects she helped build were celebrated without her name attached. Eleanor interpreted these experiences as proof that her doubts were correct, not realizing that those doubts were quietly shaping the outcomes she encountered. One afternoon, during a quiet conversation with a mentor, Eleanor heard a sentence that changed the way she understood her situation. Her mentor told her, "The world can only give you what you are willing to receive." At first, this idea seemed puzzling, but as she reflected on it, she began recognizing the pattern that had been guiding her choices. She had been waiting for external approval before allowing herself to feel worthy of success. In reality, the process worked in the opposite direction. Worthiness had to come first. The universe responds to the emotional state you embody, not the validation you hope others will eventually provide. From that moment, Eleanor began practicing something simple but powerful. Instead of waiting for evidence that she deserved recognition, she began acknowledging the value she already carried within herself. She appreciated the dedication she brought to her work. She recognized the creativity in her ideas and the consistency of her efforts. Each time doubt appeared, she gently replaced it with the reminder that she had permission to succeed just as much as anyone else. Slowly, the emotional foundation of her life began changing. She was no longer asking the world to confirm her worth. She was allowing herself to feel it internally. As this shift deepened, Eleanor's relationship with opportunity transformed. When new projects appeared, she accepted them with confidence rather than hesitation. When others recognized her contributions, she received their appreciation without diminishing it. Her emotional state became more open and receptive, and the universe mirrored this openness through circumstances that reflected her growing self-belief. Within a year, she found herself leading initiatives she once believed were beyond her reach. The change seemed sudden from the outside, but it was the natural result of the permission she had finally given herself to receive. The ability to receive is a quiet but powerful form of alignment. When you genuinely believe that you are worthy of the good that life offers, You stop blocking the flow of abundance with unconscious resistance. Instead of questioning every blessing, you welcome it as a natural extension of the relationship between your consciousness and the universe. This does not mean arrogance or entitlement. True self-worth carries humility because it recognizes that every person shares the same inherent value within the greater field of creation. Your worth is not measured by comparison with others. It exists simply because you are part of life itself. You may notice that when self-worth strengthens, many aspects of life begin changing simultaneously. Relationships become more balanced because you no longer feel the need to earn affection through constant effort. Opportunities appear more clearly because your mind is no longer filtering them through the lens of doubt. Even your physical presence can change. Confidence alters the way you move, speak, and interact with others, creating new connections that would have been unlikely before. These shifts occur because the universe responds to the permission you have given yourself to participate fully in the flow of giving and receiving. Receiving is not a passive act. It is an active acceptance of the abundance that already exists around you. Every moment, the universe offers countless forms of support, yet many people unconsciously reject them by believing they must struggle alone. When you release that belief and allow yourself to accept what life provides, your experience changes dramatically. Gratitude deepens, joy becomes easier to access. The flow of opportunities becomes more natural because you are no longer resisting it. The remarkable truth is that the door to receiving has always been within your control. It opens the moment you recognize that your worth does not need to be proven. It only needs to be acknowledged. When you grant yourself that recognition, the signal you send into the universe changes instantly. No longer shaped by hesitation, your vibration becomes one of openness and readiness, and the universe, always faithful to the frequencies it receives, begins reflecting that readiness through the abundance you once believed was beyond your reach. I want you to look at your life for a moment as if it were a building, not a random structure that appeared without design, but a carefully constructed architecture formed layer by layer over time. The walls, the doors, the windows, the pathways inside it, all of these elements follow a blueprint. No building can exist without a plan behind it. And in the same way, no life unfolds without an invisible design guiding its formation. That design is not created by chance. It is created by belief. Your beliefs are the blueprints from which the structure of your reality is built. Most people think of belief as a simple opinion, something flexible that changes with new information. But belief operates at a far deeper level than opinion. It is the silent assumption you hold about what is possible, what is probable, and what is available to you in this world. These assumptions become the foundation upon which every experience begins to organize itself. The universe does not question the blueprint you carry within your mind. It simply begins constructing the external structure that matches it. Think about how an architect approaches a building. Before a single brick is placed or a beam is raised, the entire design exists first as a pattern of thought. Measurements are drawn, proportions are calculated, and every room is imagined before construction begins. Reality follows a similar process. The beliefs you hold about yourself and the world create the mental design that reality gradually builds around you. If the blueprint contains limitation, the structure reflects limitation. If the blueprint contains possibility, the structure begins expanding accordingly. You may not remember the moment many of these blueprints were formed. Some were created during childhood, shaped by the words you heard repeatedly or the expectations others placed upon you. Some developed through experiences that convinced you certain outcomes were inevitable. Over time, these beliefs became familiar patterns within your mind. They settled quietly into your emotional landscape and began influencing the way you see opportunities, relationships, and even yourself. What once appeared to be simple thoughts slowly transformed into the architectural plans guiding the development of your life. Consider a man named Adrian who grew up hearing that success required extraordinary luck. Throughout his early years, he watched others achieve remarkable things while quietly believing that fortune belonged to a select few. Although he worked diligently and possessed considerable talent, his internal blueprint still carried the belief that opportunities rarely favored him. Because of this assumption, he approached each possibility cautiously, expecting disappointment before success had a chance to appear. The universe, responding to the blueprint he carried, reflected circumstances that confirmed his belief. Projects stalled, connections dissolved, and achievements remained just beyond his reach. From Adrian's perspective, these outcomes appeared as evidence that luck truly governed success. In reality, the design within his belief system was shaping the structure of his experiences. One evening, Adrian attended a small gathering where a speaker shared an unusual idea. The speaker explained that the universe responds to the assumptions people accept as true. What you believe repeatedly becomes the blueprint reality uses to organize your circumstances. At first, Adrian dismissed the idea, yet something about it lingered in his mind. Over the following weeks, he began noticing how often his thoughts returned to the expectation of failure, even when promising opportunities appeared. His inner voice predicted that something would eventually go wrong. Slowly, he realized that this belief had been quietly guiding his decisions and reactions for years. Instead of trying to force external change, Adrian decided to experiment with something different. He began rewriting the blueprint within his mind. Each day, he practiced imagining himself as someone for whom opportunities unfolded naturally. He pictured situations in which his ideas were welcomed and his efforts produced meaningful results. At first, these images felt unfamiliar, but he continued holding them gently within his awareness. Gradually, the emotional tone of his thoughts began shifting. Instead of anticipating disappointment, he started expecting progress. The blueprint inside him had begun to change. Once this internal design transformed, the outer structure of his life followed. Conversations led to collaborations he once believed impossible. Projects gained momentum instead of stalling. People who recognized his abilities began appearing in his professional circle. From the outside, these developments looked like fortunate coincidences, but Adrian understood something deeper had occurred. Reality had simply begun constructing the new blueprint he had chosen to believe. Belief functions as the architecture of reality because it directs your attention and shapes your perception. When you believe opportunities are abundant, your mind naturally notices them. When you believe challenges can be overcome, your actions become more creative and persistent. These changes in perception and behavior interact with the wider field of the universe, allowing circumstances to align with the blueprint you hold. The world you experience is therefore not only influenced by external events but by the design of the beliefs you consistently maintain. This realization carries profound implications. It means the structures you once considered permanent may actually be reflections of a design that can be revised. Just as an architect can redraw a plan and create an entirely different building, you can reshape the beliefs guiding your life. Changing a belief does not happen through forceful denial of your past experiences. It happens through consistent attention to a new possibility. When you begin entertaining a belief that supports growth, your mind gradually becomes familiar with that idea. Over time, it transforms from imagination into expectation. And once expectation forms, the blueprint is ready for construction. You may wonder whether belief alone can truly influence the vast complexity of reality. The answer lies in understanding that belief shapes the way you interact with the world, and the world responds to that interaction continuously. Every decision, every interpretation, every emotional reaction becomes part of the construction process. When belief shifts, the pattern of those responses shifts as well. The universe then arranges circumstances around the new pattern. Just as a building rises according to the design placed before the builders, the remarkable truth is that you are both the architect and the inhabitant of your reality. The blueprint you hold in your consciousness determines the structure you eventually walk through each day. If that blueprint contains fear, life will feel narrow and constrained. If it contains confidence and possibility, your world will expand to match it. And when you begin consciously choosing the beliefs that shape your design, you discover that reality itself is far more flexible than you once imagined. Your beliefs are not merely thoughts passing through your mind. They are the architectural plans guiding the construction of your life. When you understand this, you gain the ability to design your reality with intention. The universe, always attentive to the blueprint you carry, begins building the world that matches the structure you believe to be true. I want you to consider something that may seem surprisingly simple, Yet it holds extraordinary power in the process of manifestation. The universe responds not only to intention, belief, or visualization, but also to the emotional tone with which you move through life. And among all emotional states, joy carries one of the most magnetic frequencies of all. Joy is light. It is expansive. It moves without resistance. When joy becomes part of your natural state, the energy you transmit into the universe changes dramatically, and reality begins responding with the same lightness you are embodying. Many people approach manifestation with great seriousness. They study techniques carefully, repeat affirmations with discipline, and visualize their desires with intense focus. Yet behind all this effort there is often a hidden tension, as though they are trying to convince the universe to cooperate with them. This tension creates a vibration of pressure, and pressure is not the natural environment in which creation flows easily. Joy dissolves that pressure. When you allow yourself to feel genuine enjoyment in the present moment, you step into a state where the universe can respond freely to your energy, rather than pushing against it. Joy does not require perfect circumstances. In fact, it often appears most clearly when you stop waiting for life to become ideal before allowing yourself to feel good. Think of the way children move through the world. A child can find delight in the smallest things: the movement of wind through leaves, the sound of laughter, the simple act of running through open space. That joy is not calculated or forced. It emerges naturally because the child is fully present in the experience of being alive. In that state, energy flows without resistance, creativity expands, curiosity grows. The world becomes a playground rather than a battlefield. As adults, many people gradually lose this sense of playfulness. Responsibilities grow heavier, expectations become stricter, and life begins to feel like a sequence of tasks that must be completed rather than experiences to be enjoyed. Without realizing it, the emotional atmosphere becomes serious and constrained. When manifestation is approached from this state, it can feel like a difficult effort rather than a natural unfolding. But the universe is far more responsive to lightness than to strain. Playfulness reopens the energetic pathways through which creativity and opportunity flow. Imagine a man named Daniel, who had been working tirelessly to build a successful business. For years he followed every strategy he could learn, analyzing markets and refining his plans late into the night. Yet despite his dedication, progress remained slow. Each challenge seemed to create new complications. The harder he pushed, the more exhausted he became. Eventually, Daniel realized that his entire approach had been driven by tension. He was trying to force success rather than allowing space for inspiration and joy. One weekend, he decided to step away from his routine and spend time doing something he had not done in years. He went hiking in a forest near his home, leaving behind his phone and his endless lists of tasks. As he walked through the quiet landscape, he felt a sense of freedom returning that he had almost forgotten. The rhythm of the wind in the trees, the movement of sunlight across the path, and the simple pleasure of breathing deeply brought a lightness back into his mind. For the first time in months, he was not thinking about what was missing. He was simply enjoying the moment. During that walk, ideas began appearing effortlessly. Solutions to problems that had frustrated him for weeks suddenly seemed obvious. The pressure that had clouded his thinking dissolved, and creativity returned naturally. Over the following days, Daniel approached his work with a completely different energy. Instead of forcing progress, he allowed curiosity and playfulness to guide his decisions. Conversations became more relaxed, partnerships formed more easily, and opportunities appeared that he had not noticed before. What changed was not only his strategy but the emotional vibration with which he engaged the world. Joy had replaced tension, and the universe responded accordingly. Joy is powerful because it signals alignment with life itself. When you feel genuine enjoyment, you are no longer resisting the present moment. You are participating in it fully. This participation creates a harmonious frequency that the universe naturally amplifies. Just as laughter spreads quickly through a room, the vibration of joy spreads outward through the energetic field around you. People are drawn to it. Ideas are stimulated by it. Opportunities resonate with it. Joy becomes a kind of magnetic invitation for experiences that match its brightness. Playfulness adds another important element to this process. When you approach life playfully, you allow experimentation without fear of failure. You become more willing to explore new possibilities, to take creative risks, and to follow inspiration wherever it leads. This openness creates movement within the energetic field of your life. Instead of repeating the same patterns, you begin discovering unexpected paths that lead toward your desires. The universe responds enthusiastically to this spirit of exploration because it mirrors the dynamic nature of creation itself. You may notice that many of the most successful and innovative people maintain a playful relationship with their work. They treat challenges as puzzles rather than burdens. They allow curiosity to guide their thinking instead of rigidly forcing outcomes. This playful mindset keeps their emotional state light and flexible, which in turn attracts opportunities that support their creativity. The universe reflects the joy they bring to their pursuits by expanding the possibilities available to them. This does not mean that every moment must be filled with excitement or laughter. Joy often appears quietly as a gentle sense of appreciation for the present moment. It may emerge while sharing a conversation with a friend, enjoying the beauty of nature, or simply feeling grateful for the rhythm of your own breath. These small moments carry powerful energy because they remind you that life itself is a gift worth experiencing fully. When you allow yourself to feel that appreciation regularly, your vibration naturally becomes lighter and more receptive. The lightness that joy creates is one of the most attractive frequencies in the universe. It signals openness, confidence, and trust in the unfolding of life. When you embody that frequency, the universe recognizes it immediately and begins reflecting circumstances that match its brightness. Opportunities appear with less struggle. Connections form more naturally. Creativity flows more freely because your energy is no longer restricted by tension. So the next time you find yourself approaching manifestation with intense seriousness, pause for a moment and ask yourself a simple question. Where is the joy in this moment? Because the universe responds not only to what you desire, but to the emotional atmosphere in which that desire exists. When joy and playfulness become part of that atmosphere, your signal becomes lighter, clearer, and more magnetic. And the universe, always attentive to the energy you embody, begins arranging experiences that reflect the joyful vibration you have chosen to carry. I want you to consider a principle that appears simple on the surface, yet carries immense creative power. Gratitude is often misunderstood as a polite response to something good that has already happened. People believe they must wait until circumstances improve before they can feel truly thankful. But the deeper law of creation operates in the opposite direction. Gratitude is not merely a reaction to manifestation. It is a force that precedes it. When you feel gratitude before physical evidence appears, you are sending a powerful signal into the universe that you are already aligned with the reality you desire. The universe responds to emotional states more than to requests. When gratitude arises in your heart, it communicates something profound. It tells the creative field around you that you recognize abundance already exists, even if it has not yet taken visible form in your life. This recognition changes your vibration immediately. Instead of broadcasting a signal of waiting or lack, you begin transmitting the frequency of receiving, and the universe, which faithfully reflects the frequencies it receives, begins arranging circumstances that match the energy of appreciation you are embodying. Think of gratitude as a declaration of trust. When you feel grateful before something arrives, you are demonstrating confidence that life is already working in your favor. You are acknowledging that the process of creation is underway, even if you cannot yet see its results. This emotional certainty acts like fertile soil in which your desires can grow. The universe responds to it because gratitude carries the vibration of completion rather than absence. Imagine a gardener planting seeds in early spring. The soil may still appear empty, and no visible sign of growth exists above the surface. Yet the gardener waters the ground faithfully, knowing that life is already developing beneath the soil. Gratitude functions in much the same way. When you appreciate what is coming before it appears, you nurture the invisible roots of manifestation. The outer form will emerge in its proper time because the conditions supporting its growth have already been created within your consciousness. Many people struggle with this concept because their attention remains focused on the lack they see around them. They wait for evidence before allowing themselves to feel appreciation. But when gratitude depends on visible proof, it loses much of its creative power. The universe responds most strongly when gratitude arises independent of circumstances. This kind of gratitude does not ignore reality. It simply recognizes that reality is constantly unfolding in ways that may not yet be visible. By appreciating the process itself, you align with the energy that brings new possibilities into existence. Consider a woman named Lillian who had long desired to move into a home surrounded by nature. Her current apartment was small and located in a crowded part of the city, far from the quiet landscape she dreamed about. For many months, she searched for opportunities to change her situation, but nothing seemed to align with her hopes. One evening, she realized that most of her thoughts revolved around frustration with what she lacked. She spoke often about the home she wanted, yet the emotional tone behind her words was disappointment. The vibration she carried was still rooted in absence. Lillian decided to try something different. Instead of focusing on what she did not yet have, she began cultivating genuine appreciation for the aspects of her life that already supported her well-being. Each morning she paused for a moment to feel grateful for the sunlight entering her window, the quiet moments she could spend reading, and the friendships that enriched her daily life. She also allowed herself to feel gratitude for the future home she believed was already finding its way toward her. Though she had not yet seen it, she imagined the peace of walking through a garden, the sound of wind in the trees, and the comfort of a place that felt completely her own. At first, this practice felt unusual, but gradually her emotional state began shifting. Instead of feeling trapped in her current circumstances, she felt appreciation for the journey that was unfolding. Gratitude softened her thoughts and replaced tension with calm expectation. Within a few months, a conversation with a colleague revealed an opportunity she had never considered before. A small house had become available in a nearby countryside community, offered at a price far lower than she expected. The moment she visited the property, she recognized the atmosphere she had been imagining for weeks. The manifestation had arrived not through force but through the alignment created by gratitude. Gratitude works in this way because it changes your relationship with the present moment. When appreciation fills your awareness, you are no longer waiting for life to improve before allowing yourself to feel good. You are acknowledging that life is already providing experiences worthy of appreciation. This emotional shift removes the resistance that often blocks manifestation. Instead of pushing against your current circumstances, you begin cooperating with the creative flow of the universe. Another remarkable quality of gratitude is that it expands whatever it touches. When you appreciate something sincerely, your attention naturally returns to it again and again. This repeated attention strengthens the vibration associated with that experience. The universe recognizes the frequency of appreciation and amplifies it, often bringing additional opportunities for the same feeling to arise. In this way, gratitude becomes a creative loop. The more you feel it, the more experiences appear that inspire even greater appreciation. You may notice that people who consistently practice gratitude often describe their lives as fortunate. They encounter helpful connections, timely solutions, and unexpected blessings. These events are not random. Gratitude has conditioned their emotional state to recognize and attract opportunities that align with the vibration of abundance. Their awareness remains open rather than focused on limitation, allowing the universe to deliver possibilities that might otherwise go unnoticed. It is important to understand that gratitude does not require you to ignore challenges. Difficult moments still arise in every life, but gratitude changes the way you interpret those moments. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you begin viewing them as part of a larger unfolding that may carry hidden opportunities. This perspective maintains your alignment with the creative flow even during uncertain times. When gratitude becomes a natural part of your daily experience, manifestation begins unfolding with greater ease. You no longer feel as though you are chasing desires that exist somewhere in the distance. Instead, you recognize that the process of receiving has already begun. Every moment of appreciation becomes a signal to the universe that you are ready to welcome more of what life can offer. And this is the quiet power of gratitude before manifestation. It transforms your emotional state from waiting to receiving. It replaces tension with trust and lack with appreciation. When the universe senses this shift within you, it responds by arranging circumstances that match the abundance you have already begun to feel. In this way, gratitude becomes not only a response to life's blessings, but a creative force that helps bring those blessings into existence. I want you to notice something subtle that shapes your life every single day, often without you realizing it. The words you repeat internally, the thoughts you focus on, and the attention you give to certain ideas become signals that organize your experience. Most people believe their words are simply descriptions of reality, but in truth, words often become instructions to the subconscious mind. And once the subconscious accepts an instruction, it begins quietly guiding your perception, your behavior, and even the circumstances you attract. Words alone do not create reality, but the emotional energy and attention behind those words transform them into powerful commands. Every sentence you repeat within your mind carries a frequency. When those sentences are repeated with feeling and focus, they begin shaping the atmosphere of your consciousness. That atmosphere becomes the signal the universe responds to. So when someone constantly says, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm always unlucky," they are not simply expressing frustration. They are reinforcing a command that their subconscious mind begins treating as truth. And the universe, responding to the vibration of that belief, mirrors circumstances that make the statement appear accurate. Think of your attention as a beam of light. Wherever that light shines, energy flows. If your attention repeatedly shines on problems, disappointments, and fears, those experiences become more prominent in your life. Not because the universe wants to burden you, but because your focus is amplifying the vibration of those ideas. On the other hand, when your attention rests on possibilities, solutions, and opportunities, your mind begins noticing paths that were previously invisible. Attention guides perception, and perception influences the experiences you encounter. This is why the inner dialogue you carry with yourself is so important. Every day you speak to yourself far more often than you speak to anyone else. Those internal conversations gradually become the script your subconscious mind follows. If the script contains limitation, your behavior and expectations will align with that limitation. But if the script begins expressing confidence, openness, and possibility, the entire emotional atmosphere of your mind begins to shift. The words you repeat become seeds planted in the soil of your consciousness, and attention becomes the water that allows those seeds to grow. Consider a man named Victor who often described himself as unlucky in relationships. Whenever conversations about love arose, he would say half-jokingly that he always chose the wrong person, although he said it with a smile. The statement carried a deeper belief. Over time, his mind began filtering experiences through that expectation. He noticed signs of incompatibility quickly, but overlooked moments of genuine connection. His attention was trained to look for confirmation of the story he kept repeating. As a result, his experiences continued matching the narrative he believed about himself. One evening, a close friend pointed out something Victor had never considered before. She told him that the words he used to describe his relationships were shaping the way he perceived them. At first, he resisted the idea, but curiosity led him to observe his internal dialogue more carefully. He realized that before meeting anyone new, he often expected disappointment. That expectation influenced his tone, his posture, and the energy he brought into conversations. People sensed that uncertainty and responded accordingly. The pattern he believed was bad luck was actually a script he had unknowingly written for himself. Victor decided to experiment with changing the language he used internally. Instead of repeating that relationships never worked out, he began telling himself a different story. He reminded himself that meaningful connections were possible and that he was capable of recognizing them. At first, these new words felt unfamiliar, but he continued repeating them with gentle attention. Gradually, his focus shifted away from past disappointments and toward the possibility of genuine connection. This shift altered his emotional energy. Conversations felt lighter. Curiosity replaced suspicion. Within a few months, he found himself forming relationships that felt far more natural and supportive than those he had experienced before. What changed was not merely his vocabulary, but the frequency behind it. When words are spoken with attention and emotion, they become commands to the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not argue or analyze those commands. It simply accepts them as instructions and begins organizing perception around them. Over time, these instructions influence the decisions you make, the opportunities you notice, and the people you attract. The universe mirrors the emotional tone of those commands, bringing experiences that align with the narrative you have chosen to repeat. Attention plays a central role in this process because it determines which thoughts gain power. A single negative thought passing through your mind has little influence if you allow it to fade. But when attention returns to that thought repeatedly, it begins gathering emotional energy. That energy strengthens the belief behind it until the idea becomes part of your identity. In the same way, positive possibilities grow stronger when your attention nurtures them consistently. Whatever you focus on becomes more vivid, more believable, and eventually more real in your experience. Imagine your consciousness as a broadcasting station continuously sending signals into the universe. Words become the messages, and attention becomes the amplifier. The more frequently a message is repeated with focused attention, the stronger the broadcast becomes. The universe receives that signal and responds by reflecting experiences that match the frequency of the message you are transmitting. This is why changing your inner language can gradually transform the structure of your life. The power of inner command does not require loud declarations or dramatic affirmations. Often it operates most effectively through quiet, consistent statements repeated with calm certainty. When you speak to yourself with respect, confidence, and encouragement, those qualities become part of your emotional foundation. Your subconscious mind begins treating them as truth, guiding your behavior and perception accordingly. The universe then reflects that truth through circumstances that reinforce the identity you have chosen to embody. This does not mean every thought must be perfect. Human minds naturally produce a wide range of ideas throughout the day. What matters most is the pattern of attention you cultivate over time. If you gently guide your focus toward thoughts that support growth and possibility, those thoughts gradually become dominant within your consciousness. Your internal dialogue shifts from criticism to encouragement, from fear to curiosity, from limitation to opportunity. And when this shift occurs, something remarkable begins happening. The words you speak to yourself stop being passive descriptions of life. They become creative instructions, shaping the direction of your experience. Attention strengthens those instructions until they form a coherent signal that the universe cannot ignore. In this way, your inner language becomes more than a habit of thought. It becomes the frequency through which your consciousness communicates with the creative intelligence that organizes reality around you. I want you to notice a moment that exists in every experience you have, yet most people move past it without ever recognizing its power. It is the brief space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. This space is often only a few seconds long, sometimes even less, but within it lies one of the most transformative abilities you possess. It is what we might call the sacred pause. The sacred pause is the moment when your consciousness has the opportunity to choose its reaction rather than simply repeating an automatic pattern. In that moment, the direction of your inner state and therefore the reflection you will see in the outer world can change completely. Most reactions are conditioned by past experiences. Someone says something critical, and the mind immediately moves toward defensiveness. A challenge appears, and worry quickly fills the emotional atmosphere. These reactions feel natural because they have been repeated many times before. But the sacred pause interrupts this automatic cycle. When you become aware of the space between stimulus and response, you gain the ability to select a different internal state. That choice may seem small, but it influences the vibration you send into the universe and therefore the reality that begins forming around you. This pause becomes especially powerful when you understand the role of self-concept. Self-concept is the image you hold of yourself in your own mind. It is the quiet story that defines who you believe you are and what you believe you deserve. Every reaction you have to the world is filtered through this internal identity. If your self-concept tells you that you are easily overlooked, you may interpret neutral situations as rejection. If your self-concept tells you that you are capable and respected, the same situations may appear as opportunities rather than threats. The outer event does not change, the interpretation does, and that interpretation influences the experiences that follow. The mirror principle explains why this happens. The universe reflects the identity you consistently embody. It mirrors the emotional state and assumptions that define your self-concept. If you see yourself as someone who struggles constantly, reality begins arranging circumstances that reinforce that identity. If you begin viewing yourself as someone who learns, grows, and succeeds, the mirror gradually shifts to reflect that new assumption. The sacred pause allows you to adjust the identity you embody before your reaction reinforces the old pattern again. Imagine a woman named Natalie, who often felt overlooked in her professional environment. In meetings, she noticed that others spoke confidently while she hesitated to share her ideas. Whenever a colleague interrupted her or dismissed a suggestion, her immediate reaction was silence. Internally, she interpreted these moments as proof that her contributions were not valuable. This interpretation strengthened the self-concept she had carried for years, that she was not the type of person whose voice influenced a room. The universe mirrored this belief through repeated experiences that confirmed it. One afternoon, Natalie attended a workshop about personal awareness, where the concept of the sacred pause was introduced. The instructor explained that between every event and every reaction lies a moment of choice. Instead of allowing past beliefs to dictate your response, you can pause and ask yourself a different question. Who am I choosing to be in this moment? This idea stayed with Natalie long after the workshop ended. She realized that her reactions had been reinforcing the very identity she wanted to change. The following week, she found herself in another meeting where a colleague interrupted her mid-sentence. Her first impulse was the familiar feeling of withdrawal, but this time she noticed the sacred pause. For a brief moment, she stepped back internally and asked herself how the person she wanted to become would respond. Instead of retreating, she calmly continued her explanation, maintaining eye contact and speaking with quiet confidence. The room grew attentive as she finished her thought. That moment did not transform her career instantly, but it altered the identity she embodied. She had chosen a new response, and the mirror of reality began adjusting accordingly. The sacred pause works because it disrupts the automatic reinforcement of old self-concepts. Each time you react unconsciously, you strengthen the identity that produced that reaction. But when you pause and consciously choose a different response, you introduce a new pattern into your behavior. That pattern gradually reshapes your self-concept. Over time, your internal identity evolves, and the universe begins reflecting that evolution through new circumstances. Self-concept is powerful because it influences not only how you react, but also what you expect. Expectations act like filters that determine what you notice in your environment. If you expect conflict, your attention will gravitate towards signs of disagreement. If you expect cooperation, you will notice gestures of support that others might overlook. The mirror principle ensures that the expectations shaped by your self-concept gradually become part of the reality you experience. Life mirrors the identity you consistently embody. The sacred pause allows you to interrupt expectations before they solidify into experience. When something unexpected occurs, the pause gives you the opportunity to decide which identity will respond. Will it be the identity shaped by fear or by confidence, by limitation or by possibility? This choice determines the emotional signal you send into the universe, and that signal influences the reflection you will see in the world around you. Practicing the sacred pause does not require dramatic effort. It begins with simple awareness. The next time you feel an emotional reaction rising quickly, perhaps frustration, doubt, or defensiveness, pause for a moment before responding. Take a breath and observe the feeling without immediately acting on it. Then ask yourself a quiet question. What version of myself do I want to express right now? This question shifts your attention from automatic reaction to conscious creation. Over time, these pauses accumulate. Each one becomes a small act of authorship over your identity. Instead of allowing past patterns to define you, you begin shaping the self-concept that guides your life. As this new identity becomes familiar, the mirror of the universe responds accordingly. People begin interacting with you differently. Opportunities appear that align with the confidence you now carry. Circumstances adjust to reflect the identity you have chosen to embody. The sacred pause, therefore, is not simply a moment of restraint. It is a gateway to transformation. Within that brief space lies the ability to rewrite the assumptions guiding your life. When you pause, choose your response consciously, and align that response with the self-concept you wish to embody. The universe receives a new signal, and the mirror that once reflected the old identity gradually begins revealing the new one you have chosen to become. I want you to notice something that often goes unnoticed in the process of manifestation. Many people believe that creating the life they desire requires constant effort, intense focus, and relentless pushing toward their goals. They imagine that if they simply work hard enough, think hard enough, or try hard enough, reality will eventually bend to their will. Yet the deeper law of alignment reveals something very different. Creation does not flow most easily through force. It flows through allowing. Allowing is the emotional state in which resistance dissolves and harmony begins guiding the unfolding of events. When you are aligned with what you desire, life begins to feel lighter. Ideas arrive without struggle. Conversations unfold naturally. Opportunities appear in ways that seem almost effortless. This does not mean action disappears, but the action you take comes from clarity rather than pressure. In this state, you are cooperating with the natural movement of the universe instead of fighting against it. The emotional tone that accompanies this cooperation is what we call harmony. Harmony is the quiet sense that your inner state and the unfolding of life are moving in the same direction. Many people misunderstand allowing because they associate it with passivity. They imagine that allowing means sitting still and waiting for life to change on its own. In truth, allowing is a highly active emotional condition. It means releasing the internal resistance that often blocks the natural flow of events. Resistance appears whenever fear, impatience, or doubt begins dominating your attention. When those emotions arise, your mind attempts to control every detail of the process, believing that careful management will guarantee the outcome you desire. But this attempt at control often creates tension, and tension interrupts the alignment between your consciousness and the creative intelligence of the universe. Imagine a river flowing toward the ocean. The water does not struggle to move forward. Its motion is guided by gravity and the natural shape of the landscape. If obstacles appear, the river does not attempt to push them away with force. It simply flows around them, adjusting its path while maintaining its direction. Allowing works in much the same way. When you trust the movement of life, you stop forcing rigid outcomes and instead allow the current of events to guide you toward the destination that already exists within your intention. Consider a man named Samuel who had long dreamed of writing a book. For years he tried to discipline himself into productivity, setting strict schedules and forcing himself to write, even when inspiration felt absent. Although he produced many pages, the work often felt heavy and uninspired. The harder he pushed, the more resistance he experienced. Eventually, Samuel realized that his approach had become a battle against himself. Instead of allowing creativity to emerge naturally, he was trying to control every aspect of the process. One evening, he decided to approach his writing differently. Instead of demanding results from himself, he allowed his mind to relax. He walked through a nearby park, letting his thoughts wander without pressure. In that relaxed state, ideas began appearing more easily. Scenes formed in his imagination with surprising clarity. When he returned home and sat at his desk, the words flowed more naturally than they had in months. Samuel had not abandoned his goal, but he had shifted his emotional tone from struggle to harmony. By allowing creativity to emerge rather than forcing it, he aligned himself with the deeper rhythm through which inspiration moves. The emotional tone of alignment is calm rather than anxious. It carries a quiet confidence that life is cooperating with your intention. When you feel this tone within yourself, you stop searching frantically for proof that things are working. Instead, you sense that the process is already unfolding, even if the visible results have not yet appeared. This inner calm sends a clear signal into the universe. It communicates that you are no longer resisting the flow of creation. The universe responds by arranging circumstances that match the peaceful vibration you are now embodying. Harmony also influences the way you perceive challenges. When resistance dominates your emotional state, obstacles feel threatening and discouraging. But when you are aligned with allowing, obstacles appear as temporary adjustments within the larger process. You recognize that not every path must unfold exactly as you imagined. Sometimes a closed door simply redirects you toward a route that better supports your growth. This perspective keeps your emotional state balanced even when plans change unexpectedly. Instead of reacting with frustration, you remain open to the guidance that new circumstances may reveal. Allowing also deepens your connection with intuition. When your mind is tense, intuition becomes difficult to hear because the noise of worry fills your awareness. But when you relax into harmony, your attention becomes clearer and more receptive. Subtle insights begin guiding your decisions. You may feel a gentle impulse to contact someone, explore a new idea, or take a small step that eventually leads to a meaningful opportunity. These intuitive signals are part of the universe's response to your alignment. They guide you along paths that the logical mind alone might never discover. It is important to remember that allowing does not eliminate effort. It transforms the quality of effort. Instead of pushing against life, you move with it. Your actions become expressions of inspiration rather than obligations driven by fear. This shift changes the way energy flows through your work, your relationships, and your creative pursuits. Others can sense this harmony in your presence. They respond to the calm confidence you carry, and their reactions become part of the supportive environment that alignment creates. The emotional tone of alignment can be recognized by its simplicity. You feel lighter rather than burdened, curious rather than anxious, patient rather than desperate. Even when progress seems slow, a quiet trust remains beneath your thoughts. This trust is not blind optimism. It is the natural response of a mind that has released resistance. When resistance fades, the current of life becomes easier to follow. Opportunities that once felt distant begin appearing within reach because you are no longer blocking the pathways through which they arrive. As you practice allowing, you may notice that manifestation becomes less about forcing results and more about maintaining harmony within yourself. Each moment offers an opportunity to return to that emotional balance. When doubt appears, you gently release it rather than fighting it. When impatience arises, you return to the calm awareness that everything unfolds in its proper sequence. This steady alignment sends a clear message into the universe. You are ready to cooperate with the creative process rather than struggle against it. And when the universe senses this readiness, it responds with remarkable consistency. Circumstances begin arranging themselves in ways that reflect the harmony you have cultivated. Ideas connect more easily. Relationships support your growth. Events unfold with a sense of natural timing that feels almost effortless. What once required force now emerges through flow, the moment you allow life to move through you, instead of pushing against it. The emotional tone of alignment transforms the entire experience of creation. I want you to imagine standing at the edge of a vast canyon. You take a breath and call out a single word. For a moment there is silence, and then the sound returns to you, echoing back across the distance. The canyon does not decide whether it agrees with what you said. It simply returns the sound you released into it. The universe operates through a similar principle. Every emotion you send outward eventually returns to you in some form. This is the law of returned vibration. What you feel consistently becomes the echo that reality sends back into your life. Most people assume their emotions are simply responses to external events. Something good happens and they feel joy. Something difficult appears and they feel frustration. From this perspective, emotions seem like reactions to life rather than influences upon it. Yet the deeper law of vibration reveals something far more interesting. Your feelings do not only respond to circumstances, they also participate in shaping them. Every emotional state you carry becomes a signal transmitted into the energetic field of the universe. That signal travels outward, interacts with countless possibilities, and eventually returns as experiences that match its frequency. This process is subtle, but its effects appear everywhere once you begin observing carefully. Think of the way kindness often generates more kindness. When someone speaks gently or offers sincere appreciation, the people around them frequently respond in the same tone. The emotional energy spreads through the environment and begins influencing interactions in ways that may not be immediately obvious. In contrast, when anger or resentment dominates a conversation, the atmosphere quickly becomes tense. Even those who entered the situation calmly may begin reacting defensively. These patterns illustrate how emotional vibration moves outward and returns through the responses it stimulates. The law of return vibration operates not only in personal interactions but also in the broader unfolding of life events. Consider a man named Lucas, who spent many years believing that life was unfair. He often spoke about how opportunities seemed to favor others, while he remained stuck in difficult circumstances. The more he repeated this belief, the stronger his emotional frustration became. Over time, he began expecting disappointment before any new situation even began. His tone in conversations carried subtle irritation, and his body language reflected guarded skepticism. Without realizing it, Lucas was sending a consistent vibration of resistance into the world. The universe responded by arranging experiences that echoed the frustration he felt within. One evening, Lucas attended a community gathering where he met an older gentleman who listened patiently as he described his struggles. After hearing Lucas speak for several minutes, the man asked him a simple question: "What feeling do you believe the world hears when you talk about your life?" Lucas paused, surprised by the question. He had been describing circumstances, but the man was asking about emotion. That moment planted a seed of curiosity. Lucas began observing the tone he carried throughout his daily interactions. He noticed how often his words were colored by irritation and expectation of failure. Slowly, he realized that his emotional vibration might be influencing the responses he received from others and from life itself. Over the following weeks, Lucas experimented with changing the feeling behind his thoughts. Instead of repeating complaints, he practiced moments of appreciation, even for small things he had previously ignored. At first, this shift felt unnatural, but he continued anyway. When challenges appeared, he paused before reacting and asked himself what emotional signal he wanted to send into the world. Gradually, his tone softened. Conversations became more cooperative. Opportunities that once seemed distant began appearing through unexpected connections. What changed was not the structure of the universe, but the vibration Lucas was sending into it. The echo he received began matching the new frequency he had chosen to express. The law of return vibration works because the universe functions as an interconnected field of energy. Every thought and emotion you experience generates a subtle frequency. This frequency moves outward and interacts with the surrounding environment, influencing how events unfold. When a particular emotional pattern repeats frequently enough, it becomes the dominant signal shaping your experience. Reality then reflects that pattern through circumstances that reinforce the vibration you have been transmitting. It is important to understand that the universe does not judge these emotional signals. It simply responds to them. Just as a musical instrument vibrates when it encounters a matching frequency, the events of your life begin aligning with the emotional tone you sustain most consistently. Joy attracts situations that encourage more joy. Fear invites circumstances that echo uncertainty. Compassion tends to generate supportive relationships. These patterns may not appear immediately, but over time they form the structure of the experiences you encounter. One of the most empowering aspects of this law is that it places creative influence back into your awareness. If emotions can return to you as echoes in reality, then changing your emotional frequency becomes a powerful act of creation. This does not require suppressing difficult feelings or pretending challenges do not exist. Instead, it involves becoming conscious of the signals you send outward. Each moment offers the opportunity to choose a vibration that aligns with the life you wish to experience. You might imagine your emotional state as a voice calling across the canyon of existence. The universe listens quietly, then reflects that voice through the echoes of events, interactions, and opportunities. When your inner voice carries appreciation, calm, and curiosity, the echoes often return as cooperation, inspiration, and growth. When your voice carries resentment or fear, the echoes may return through tension or difficulty. The canyon is not judging the message, it is simply returning it. This understanding encourages a new level of awareness in everyday life. Instead of seeing emotions as powerless reactions, you begin recognizing them as creative signals. When frustration arises, you can pause and ask yourself whether that vibration is the message you truly want echoed back into your future. When gratitude or joy appears, you may choose to amplify it, knowing that the universe will respond to the frequency you are strengthening. Each emotional choice becomes part of the conversation you are having with reality itself. Over time, this awareness transforms the way you move through the world. You begin cultivating feelings that align with the experiences you wish to invite into your life. Patience replaces urgency. Appreciation replaces complaint. Curiosity replaces fear. These shifts may seem subtle at first, but the echoes they create gradually reshape your environment. People respond differently. Opportunities appear through unexpected paths. Even challenges become easier to navigate because your emotional tone remains steady. The law of returned vibration reminds you that life is constantly responding to the signals you send. Every feeling you carry is part of an ongoing dialogue with the universe. When you learn to guide that dialogue intentionally, the echoes that return begin reflecting the harmony, confidence, and possibility you have chosen to express. And in that moment you realize that the emotional music of your inner world has always been shaping the song your life eventually sings back to you. I want you to imagine the difference between two kinds of power. One kind shouts, insists, and struggles to control everything around it. It demands obedience and becomes louder when resistance appears. The other kind of power is quiet, steady, and calm. It does not force circumstances into place, yet somehow the world begins arranging itself naturally around its presence. The first kind of power comes from fear and urgency. The second comes from what we might call royal authority. Royal authority does not push reality. It commands through certainty, and the universe responds to this quiet certainty far more strongly than it ever responds to force. Most people approach manifestation with the energy of struggle. They feel that they must push harder than life itself in order to achieve what they desire. They worry constantly about whether their plans will succeed, and they attempt to control every detail of the process. From the outside, this effort may appear determined and disciplined, but internally it often carries the vibration of doubt. The more they try to force results, the more their emotional state communicates that success is uncertain. The universe hears that uncertainty and reflects circumstances that match it. Royal authority operates very differently. Imagine a king standing in the center of his kingdom. He does not run through the streets pleading with every citizen to obey his wishes. He does not chase outcomes with anxiety. His authority is recognized because he embodies the role he occupies. His calm confidence signals that the order he gives will naturally be carried out. The universe responds in a similar way to the authority you embody within your consciousness. When you move through life with quiet certainty, you transmit a signal that your desires are not desperate requests, but natural expressions of who you are becoming. This form of authority begins with inner identity. If you see yourself as someone who must struggle for every result, your emotional state will always contain tension. But when you begin seeing yourself as someone who is naturally aligned with opportunity, your posture toward life changes. You stop chasing outcomes and start expecting them. This expectation does not come from arrogance or entitlement. It arises from the recognition that your consciousness participates directly in the creative process of reality. When you know this, you no longer feel the need to force life to cooperate. You understand that your inner state already carries the authority to influence the unfolding of events. Consider a man named Julian who spent many years trying to advance his career through constant effort. He worked longer hours than anyone around him and took on every task that appeared. Yet promotions and recognition seemed to pass him by. His energy was always tense, driven by the fear that if he stopped pushing, everything would collapse. One evening, during a conversation with a colleague he admired, Julian heard a perspective that changed the way he approached his work. His colleague told him, "True leadership doesn't come from proving yourself every day. It comes from knowing who you are and letting that certainty guide your actions." Those words stayed with Julian. He realized that much of his effort had been fueled by insecurity rather than confidence. He had been trying to earn authority instead of embodying it. Over the next few weeks, he began shifting his internal state. Instead of approaching every task with urgency, he focused on developing calm clarity about the value he already brought to his work. He spoke with more presence, listened more carefully, and allowed his ideas to be expressed without apologizing for them. Gradually, the atmosphere around him began changing. Colleagues who once overlooked him began seeking his perspective. Opportunities for leadership emerged without the frantic effort he once believed necessary. What changed was not merely his behavior, but the authority he carried within himself. Royal authority is deeply connected to emotional steadiness. When you command without force, you are not reacting impulsively to every obstacle. Instead, you remain centered in the awareness that your intention is already influencing the field of possibilities around you. This calm state signals confidence to the universe. It communicates that you trust the unfolding of events and that your desire is not a desperate wish but a natural extension of your identity. The universe responds to this signal by arranging circumstances that align with the authority you embody. One of the greatest misunderstandings about manifestation is the belief that stronger effort always produces stronger results. Effort has its place, but effort driven by anxiety often creates resistance. When you push against life too aggressively, your attention becomes fixed on what is not yet working. This focus amplifies the vibration of lack and frustration. Royal authority removes that resistance because it operates from certainty rather than struggle. Instead of shouting commands into the universe, you hold your intention quietly within your awareness and allow your actions to reflect the confidence you feel. This approach does not mean ignoring challenges or refusing to take responsibility for your goals. On the contrary, royal authority requires deep awareness and discipline. The difference lies in the emotional tone with which you act. When your actions arise from calm certainty, they carry a clarity that others can sense. Decisions become more deliberate, communication becomes more effective, and opportunities begin aligning with the energy you project. The universe recognizes this coherence and reflects it through events that reinforce your leadership over your own experience. There is also a profound sense of peace within this form of authority. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you free your mind from constant tension. Your energy becomes available for creativity, insight, and genuine connection with others. Instead of exhausting yourself with endless effort, you begin guiding your life with deliberate intention. Each decision becomes part of a larger vision rather than a reaction to immediate pressure. This calm presence influences the environment around you in ways that force never could. You may notice that individuals who embody this kind of authority often appear remarkably composed. Even when challenges arise, they do not rush into panic or anger. Their confidence remains steady because it is rooted in identity rather than circumstance. The universe responds to this steadiness by reflecting opportunities that support their path. It is not that obstacles disappear entirely, but they become easier to navigate because the individual facing them carries a clear sense of direction and self-belief. Royal authority, therefore, becomes a powerful form of manifestation. It transforms the way you interact with life. Instead of pleading for outcomes, you step into the identity of someone who already belongs in the reality you seek. Your thoughts become aligned with that identity. Your emotions reflect its confidence, and your actions express its clarity. The universe receives this signal and responds by organizing circumstances around the authority you embody. When you learn to command without force, you discover that the most powerful influence you possess is not control over external events, but mastery over your internal state. The moment your consciousness holds calm certainty about who you are becoming, the energy you send into the world changes completely, and the universe, always attentive to the vibration of your identity, begins reflecting the quiet authority you have chosen to carry. I want you to understand something important about the power you are learning to awaken within yourself. The ability to influence your reality through belief, emotion, and intention is real, but it is not meant to be used as a tool for domination or selfish control. True creative power is most effective when it operates through benevolence. Benevolent power does not attempt to take from the world. It participates in the expansion of life for everyone involved. When your intention aligns with the shared good of others, the universe responds with far greater harmony than when your desires arise from narrow self-interest. Many people first discover manifestation because they want to improve their personal circumstances. They want greater success, more abundance, stronger relationships, or deeper fulfillment. There is nothing wrong with these desires. Growth and expansion are natural expressions of life itself, but as awareness deepens, something else becomes clear. The most stable and lasting manifestations often arise when personal desires are connected to a broader intention that benefits more than just the individual who holds them. The universe is a field of interconnected consciousness. And when your intentions support that interconnectedness, the creative flow becomes stronger and more balanced. Imagine a musician playing alone in a quiet room. The music may be beautiful, but when other instruments join and harmony develops among them, the experience becomes richer and more powerful. Benevolent intention works in a similar way. When your goals align with the well-being of others, your creative energy resonates with a larger field of possibilities. Instead of moving against the world in competition, you begin cooperating with the collective movement of life itself. This cooperation amplifies the influence of your intentions because they now harmonize with the natural expansion of the universe. Consider a woman named Olivia who discovered the principles of manifestation during a difficult period in her life. At first, her focus was entirely personal. She wanted financial security and professional recognition after years of feeling overlooked in her work. She practiced visualization and emotional alignment daily, imagining the success she hoped would arrive. Gradually, her circumstances improved, new opportunities began appearing, and her confidence grew. Yet something unexpected happened along the way. As Olivia became more secure in her own life, she noticed how many others around her were struggling with the same doubts she once carried. Instead of keeping her knowledge to herself, she began sharing encouragement with colleagues and friends. She helped others recognize their abilities and supported them in pursuing opportunities they had once believed impossible. Her success continued to grow, but now it was accompanied by the satisfaction of seeing others rise alongside her. The more she aligned her intentions with the well-being of those around her, the more naturally opportunities flowed into her own life. The universe seemed to respond to the generosity of her intention by expanding the possibilities available to her. Benevolent power works because intention carries an energetic signature. When your desires arise from fear, competition, or the need to prove superiority, that energy creates subtle resistance. The universe reflects this resistance through tension and instability in the outcomes you experience. Even if success appears temporarily, it often feels fragile because the underlying vibration remains conflicted. But when your intention is rooted in goodwill, appreciation, and cooperation, the vibration becomes harmonious. The universe responds to this harmony by creating circumstances that support sustainable growth rather than temporary advantage. Ethical intention also strengthens the clarity of your mind. When you pursue goals that benefit both yourself and others, your decisions become guided by purpose rather than ego. Purpose provides direction and stability during moments of uncertainty. Instead of chasing results blindly, you begin asking deeper questions about how your actions contribute to the greater flow of life. This perspective brings a sense of meaning to your efforts. Even challenges become valuable because they teach lessons that strengthen your ability to serve and create. There is a quiet wisdom in the structure of the universe that favors cooperation over exploitation. In nature, ecosystems thrive when different forms of life support each other. Trees exchange nutrients through underground networks. Animals contribute to the balance of their environments, and entire landscapes flourish because countless elements interact harmoniously. The same principle applies to human experience. When your intentions respect the interconnected nature of life, you participate in the same cooperative intelligence that sustains the natural world. This does not mean you must abandon personal ambition or limit your aspirations. Benevolent power does not shrink your goals, it expands their purpose. When you succeed through intentions that uplift others, your success becomes more meaningful and more resilient. Opportunities multiply because people naturally respond to generosity and integrity. Trust forms around your presence, and that trust becomes one of the most powerful forces in human collaboration. The universe mirrors this trust through circumstances that continue supporting your path. You may notice that individuals who operate from benevolent intention often attract loyal partnerships and lasting achievements. Their influence grows not because they demand recognition, but because others feel inspired by the authenticity of their purpose. They understand that true power is not measured by how much control they hold, but by how much positive impact they create. The universe responds to this mindset by aligning opportunities with the ripple effect of their actions. Every act of goodwill becomes part of a larger pattern that supports continued growth. Another remarkable aspect of ethical intention is the inner peace it brings. When your goals are aligned with the shared good, You do not need to hide your motives or justify your success. Your achievements become expressions of service as well as personal fulfillment. This harmony removes the inner conflict that often accompanies purely self-centered ambition. Instead of worrying about maintaining your position, you focus on expanding the benefits that your work can bring to others. The universe responds to this openness with a steady flow of possibilities. The power of manifestation becomes far more profound when it is guided by benevolence. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs still shape your reality, but now they do so within a broader framework of harmony. Each desire becomes an opportunity to contribute to the well-being of the world around you. When your intentions align with this shared good, your influence expands naturally because it resonates with the creative intelligence that sustains life itself. So as you continue learning to shape your reality through belief and alignment, remember that power is most effective when it is compassionate. Let your desires include the flourishing of others alongside your own success. Allow your goals to create opportunities not only for yourself but for the communities and relationships that surround you. When your intentions carry this spirit of benevolence, the universe recognizes the harmony within your purpose and responds by expanding the possibilities through which that purpose can unfold. I want you to notice a moment that often appears in the middle of struggle. It is the moment when the mind has tried every strategy it knows. Every plan has been revised again and again, and yet the result still refuses to change. At that point, many people conclude that they simply need a better method, a smarter tactic, or a more detailed plan. But there is another possibility that is rarely considered. Sometimes the shift that changes everything is not a new strategy, but a change in emotional state. It is what we might call the heart switch, the moment when emotion begins guiding creation instead of calculation. The human mind loves strategy. It analyzes problems, organizes information, and attempts to predict outcomes. These abilities are valuable, yet they also have limitations. The mind operates using what it already knows. It builds solutions from past experiences and familiar patterns, but the universe is far more expansive than the range of possibilities the mind can calculate. When you rely entirely on strategy, you confine yourself to the boundaries of what logic can imagine. Emotion, however, connects you with a deeper layer of intelligence. It communicates directly with the vibrational field in which new possibilities are constantly forming. Think of strategy as the map and emotion as the compass. A map can show you known roads, but a compass points toward direction even when the road has not yet been drawn. When your emotional state aligns with what you desire, you begin sensing opportunities that logic alone could not reveal. The universe responds to this emotional alignment by opening paths that did not appear on the original map. In this way, emotion becomes the bridge between intention and manifestation. Consider the experience of a man named Thomas, who had spent years trying to build a thriving creative career. He studied every business model available, followed detailed marketing plans, and carefully tracked every step of his progress. Yet, despite his disciplined approach, success remained inconsistent. Each time he revised his strategy, he believed the next adjustment would finally unlock the result he wanted. Instead, the process felt increasingly exhausting. His mind was constantly searching for the perfect plan, but the more he analyzed, the less inspired he felt. One evening, after another long day of planning and recalculating, Thomas noticed something unexpected. While looking through old sketches he had created years earlier, he felt a sudden wave of excitement and curiosity. Those drawings had been made during a time when he worked purely from passion, without worrying about how they would succeed. In that moment, he realized that the emotional energy behind his work had changed over the years. What once began with joy had gradually turned into a strategic exercise driven by pressure. The heart switch had quietly been turned off. The next morning, Thomas made a simple decision. Instead of focusing immediately on strategies for success, he returned to creating from the emotional state that first inspired him. He allowed curiosity, playfulness, and appreciation for the process to guide his work. He still used practical planning when necessary, but it no longer dominated his approach. As weeks passed, his energy changed noticeably. His creativity became more vibrant, and people began responding to the authenticity of his work. Opportunities emerged through connections he had not anticipated. The shift did not happen because he discovered a perfect strategy. It happened because the emotional frequency behind his actions had changed. The heart switch works because emotion carries the signal that the universe responds to most strongly. Strategy organizes actions, but emotion energizes them. When your actions are driven by fear, urgency, or desperation, those feelings shape the vibration of your efforts. Even a brilliant strategy can struggle to succeed if the emotional energy behind it is tense or doubtful. But when your emotional state carries enthusiasm, trust, and genuine interest, your actions become infused with a magnetic quality. Others feel drawn to the energy you bring, and circumstances begin aligning more naturally. Many people hesitate to trust emotion because they believe it is unpredictable or irrational. Yet the emotions guiding manifestation are not the fleeting reactions that arise during moments of stress. They are deeper states such as appreciation, curiosity, love, and calm confidence. These emotions signal alignment with the creative flow of life. When you act from these states, you are not abandoning intelligence, you are integrating it with a broader awareness. Strategy becomes a tool that supports your emotional alignment rather than replacing it. The heart switch also changes the way you approach challenges. When strategy alone guides your thinking, obstacles can feel like proof that the plan is failing. This often leads to more analysis, more control, and greater tension. But when emotion guides your direction, challenges become signals that help refine your alignment. You listen to how each situation feels rather than reacting purely through calculation. This sensitivity allows you to adjust your path intuitively, often discovering solutions that logic alone might never uncover. Another important aspect of the heart switch is authenticity. When your actions arise from genuine emotional alignment, you stop trying to imitate what others believe success should look like. Instead, you begin expressing the qualities that naturally belong to you. This authenticity creates a unique signal within the energetic field of the universe. Because it is not forced or artificial, it resonates more clearly with people and opportunities that match your true direction. The universe reflects this authenticity by bringing circumstances that support the expression of your natural abilities. It is important to remember that the heart switch does not eliminate the usefulness of planning or discipline. Strategy still has a role to play, especially when organizing complex projects or coordinating with others. The difference is that strategy becomes secondary rather than dominant. Emotion sets the direction, while strategy helps navigate the journey. When this balance exists, the mind and heart work together instead of competing for control. The result is a creative process that feels both purposeful and alive. You may recognize moments in your own life when the heart switch has already occurred. Perhaps there was a time when inspiration replaced frustration, and suddenly progress began appearing where struggle once existed. In those moments you were not pushing harder, you were aligning more deeply with the emotional frequency that matched your desire. The universe responded to that shift by opening pathways that your previous strategies could not reach. The heart switch reminds you that manifestation is not a purely intellectual exercise. It is a collaboration between your inner emotional world and the creative intelligence of the universe. When emotion leads and strategy follows, your actions carry a clarity and vitality that force alone cannot produce. The moment you allow the heart to guide your direction, the signal you send into the world becomes stronger, more coherent, and far more magnetic, and the universe, always listening to the language of feeling, begins responding to the energy you have chosen to embody. I want you to consider a relationship that has always been present in your life, even if you have rarely noticed it. It is not a relationship with another person, nor is it bound by physical distance or spoken language. It is the quiet connection between your consciousness and the vast intelligence that moves through the universe. Many traditions call this intelligence by different names: God, Source, the infinite mind, or the creative field of existence. Yet whatever name is used, the essence remains the same. There is a silent dialogue constantly unfolding between your inner world and the larger intelligence that shapes reality. When you become aware of this dialogue, life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a partnership. Most people assume that communication with the infinite requires formal rituals, elaborate prayers, or moments set aside for spiritual practice. While these can be meaningful, the deeper truth is far simpler. The conversation between you and the universe is happening continuously through your awareness, your emotions, and the attention you bring to the present moment. Every thought you hold and every feeling you sustain becomes part of that silent communion. The universe listens not only when you ask for guidance, but whenever your consciousness sends a signal into the field of life. This silent communion is often easiest to notice during moments of stillness. When the noise of daily activity fades, a subtle clarity begins to appear within the mind. Ideas that once seemed hidden emerge gently. Intuition speaks not through loud commands, but through quiet impressions that feel surprisingly certain. Many people dismiss these impressions as imagination, yet they often carry insights that logic alone could not produce. In these moments, you are not inventing answers. You are receiving guidance from the deeper intelligence that connects all things. Imagine a man named Elias who spent years believing that he had to solve every problem entirely on his own. Whenever a challenge appeared, he responded by analyzing it repeatedly until he felt mentally exhausted. His mind rarely rested because he believed that constant thinking was the only way to remain in control. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Elias decided to take a walk without his phone or any specific destination. As he moved slowly through the quiet streets, his attention gradually shifted away from the problem that had occupied his mind all afternoon. In that quiet space, something unexpected happened. An idea appeared with surprising simplicity, a perspective on the situation he had not considered before. It felt clear and natural, as though it had been waiting just beneath the surface of his thoughts. Elias realized that the answer had not come through effort but through stillness. When his mind stopped forcing solutions, it became receptive to the guidance that was already present. This moment revealed something profound. He was not navigating life alone. There was an intelligence within the silence that responded whenever he created space to listen. Silent communion develops when you learn to trust this quiet guidance. It does not mean abandoning reason or ignoring practical thinking. Instead, it means recognizing that wisdom often emerges from a deeper level of awareness than the restless surface of the mind. When you pause long enough to listen, intuition becomes clearer. This intuition may guide you toward a conversation, a creative idea, or a decision that aligns naturally with your path. The universe communicates through these subtle signals, helping you move in harmony with the unfolding of events. Partnership with the infinite also transforms the way you approach everyday life. When you recognize that your consciousness participates in an ongoing dialogue with the universe, ordinary moments gain new meaning. Simple activities such as walking, breathing, or observing the world around you become opportunities to reconnect with the quiet intelligence guiding your experience. Instead of feeling separate from life, you begin sensing that you are part of a vast creative process unfolding continuously. This awareness brings a sense of calm confidence. Challenges no longer feel like isolated burdens you must carry alone. They become invitations to deepen your connection with the intelligence that surrounds you. When uncertainty appears, you can pause, become still, and allow insight to emerge naturally. This does not guarantee that every situation will immediately resolve, but it reminds you that solutions often arise when the mind relaxes its grip on control. Many individuals who cultivate this partnership notice that synchronicities begin appearing more frequently in their lives. A thought about someone may be followed by an unexpected message from that person. An idea that arises during quiet reflection may lead to a conversation that opens new possibilities. These moments feel meaningful because they reveal the interconnected nature of existence. They are signs that the silent dialogue between your consciousness and the universe is active and responsive. Developing this relationship requires only one essential practice: awareness. The more often you pause to listen within, the more familiar the voice of intuition becomes. At first, the signals may feel faint, but with patience they grow clearer. You begin recognizing the difference between thoughts driven by anxiety and insights arising from deeper clarity. The latter carry a sense of calm certainty that does not demand immediate proof. They simply guide you gently toward the next step in your journey. Over time, this silent communion reshapes your entire perspective on manifestation. Instead of feeling that you must force reality to change, you begin cooperating with the intelligence already guiding the creative process. Your role becomes one of attentive participation rather than constant control. You set intentions, align your emotions with them, and then listen for the guidance that reveals the next step. This approach transforms manifestation into a collaborative experience rather than an isolated effort. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this partnership is the sense of companionship it brings. When you realize that the universe is continuously responding to your awareness, life feels less lonely and uncertain. Even during moments of difficulty, you know that wisdom remains accessible through the quiet space within you. The infinite is not distant or unreachable. It is present in the very awareness through which you experience the world. Every moment offers the opportunity to reconnect with this silent communion. You can pause, breathe, and allow your attention to settle into the stillness beneath your thoughts. In that stillness, the conversation between your consciousness and the universe becomes audible once again. Ideas, insights, and gentle guidance emerge naturally, reminding you that life is not a solitary journey. It is a continuous partnership between your inner awareness and the vast intelligence that shapes the unfolding of reality itself. I want you to consider a truth that many people overlook when they begin the journey of conscious creation. Manifestation is not only about attracting new experiences into your life, it is also about releasing the emotional weight that keeps the old ones repeating. Many people try to visualize a better future while still carrying resentment, regret, or disappointment from the past. In this state, the mind may imagine change, but the emotional energy remains tied to memories that continue influencing the present. The universe responds to emotional signals more strongly than to mental images alone, and when those signals are anchored in unresolved feelings, they quietly shape the experiences that follow. Release is therefore one of the most powerful acts of alignment you can practice. To release does not mean denying the past or pretending difficult experiences never happened. It means loosening the emotional grip those experiences hold over your identity. When you hold tightly to resentment or regret, your attention returns repeatedly to the same emotional pattern. That pattern becomes a vibration that continues echoing through your life. But when you allow yourself to release those feelings, the signal you send into the universe changes. Space opens within your consciousness for new experiences to form. Forgiveness plays a central role in this process of release. Many people believe forgiveness is something done primarily for the benefit of another person. Yet in the deeper language of consciousness, forgiveness is a gift you offer yourself. When you forgive, you remove the emotional charge that keeps the past alive within your present awareness. This does not mean approving of harmful actions or forgetting important lessons. It simply means choosing not to carry the vibration of resentment forward into the future you are creating. The universe mirrors the emotional states you sustain most often. When resentment fades, the mirror begins reflecting a lighter and more open reality. Imagine a woman named Sophia who had spent years feeling hurt by the way a former business partner treated her. The experience had left her cautious and guarded in every professional relationship that followed. Although she wanted to build new collaborations, her emotional state still carried the memory of betrayal. Each time she met someone new, part of her expected disappointment, that expectation influenced her tone, her decisions, and even the opportunities she felt comfortable accepting. The universe reflected the vibration she carried by presenting situations that reinforced her caution. One evening, Sophia realized that the memory of the past was shaping more of her present than she had ever intended. Instead of continuing to replay the story, she decided to release the emotional weight attached to it. She wrote a letter expressing everything she had felt but never said, then quietly acknowledged the lessons the experience had taught her. Afterward, she chose to forgive not because the past could be changed, but because she no longer wanted it to define her future. That act of forgiveness changed the emotional frequency within her consciousness. When new opportunities appeared, she approached them with openness rather than suspicion. Within months, she formed partnerships far more supportive than the one she had once feared, repeating, "Release prepares the ground for the next step in conscious creation, precision of intention." When emotional clutter fades, your vision of what you desire becomes clearer. Precision does not mean obsessively controlling every detail of the outcome. Instead, it means understanding the essence of the experience you wish to invite into your life. Perhaps you desire meaningful work, loving relationships, or financial freedom. Precision asks you to feel the qualities those experiences carry: joy, security, inspiration, connection. When you become emotionally familiar with these qualities, your consciousness begins aligning with them naturally. Visualization becomes especially powerful when combined with this emotional clarity. Visualization is not merely imagining pictures in the mind. It is the practice of stepping into the feeling of a reality that has not yet appeared in physical form. When you visualize faithfully, you allow yourself to experience the emotions associated with your desire as though it already exists. This emotional rehearsal sends a clear signal into the universe. The vibration you generate during visualization communicates readiness for the experience you are imagining. Faithful visualization also requires patience. Many people attempt visualization once or twice and then immediately question whether it is working. Doubt interrupts the emotional consistency that manifestation requires. Faithful visualization, however, is gentle and persistent. You return to the image not with urgency but with calm appreciation. Each time you imagine your desired reality, you strengthen the emotional connection between your present awareness and the future experience you are inviting into existence. Over time, that connection becomes stable enough for the universe to reflect it through external circumstances. Think of visualization as planting a seed in fertile soil. Release and forgiveness clear the ground of stones and weeds that might prevent growth. Precision identifies the type of seed you wish to plant, ensuring that your intention is clear and meaningful. Faithful visualization then nurtures the seed with attention and emotional warmth. Just as a gardener does not dig up a seed each day to check its progress, you allow the process of manifestation to unfold in its own rhythm. Your role is simply to maintain the emotional environment in which growth can occur. As you practice release, forgiveness, and visualization together, you may notice a remarkable shift in your awareness. The past loses its power to dictate your future, and your mind becomes more focused on possibilities rather than memories. Your emotional state grows lighter and more receptive. When this happens, intuition often becomes clearer as well. You begin sensing the steps that lead naturally toward the experiences you have been visualizing. The universe responds by presenting opportunities that match the clarity of your intention. It is important to remember that visualization is not about escaping the present moment. Instead, it strengthens your relationship with the present by aligning your emotional state with the future you wish to create. When you feel gratitude and confidence while imagining that future, you are already embodying the vibration that will attract it. The universe responds to that vibration by organizing events in ways that bring the imagined reality closer to physical form. Release frees your energy from the past. Forgiveness restores harmony within your heart. Precision clarifies the direction of your intention, and faithful visualization nurtures the emotional connection between your present awareness and the reality you are inviting into existence. Together, these practices transform manifestation from a vague hope into a deliberate process of alignment. The universe hears the signal you send through your emotions and imagination, and it responds by reflecting the future you have chosen to see with clarity and trust. I want you to consider something that often gets lost when people begin consciously creating their lives. They become so focused on achieving results that they forget the quality of the person who is creating those results. They study methods, repeat affirmations, visualize outcomes, and plan every step of the journey. Yet if the energy behind those actions feels forced, disconnected, or inauthentic, the creative process begins to lose its natural flow. The universe responds not only to your intentions but also to the truth of who you are being while you pursue them. Authenticity, therefore, becomes one of the most powerful forces in manifestation. When you allow your true nature to guide your actions, the energy you send into the world becomes clear, coherent, and deeply magnetic. Authenticity means aligning your desires with the genuine expression of your character rather than imitating what others believe success should look like. Many people spend years trying to follow paths that do not truly belong to them. They adopt goals because they appear impressive, profitable, or socially approved. Yet when the heart is not fully engaged in those pursuits, a subtle resistance forms within the emotional field of the mind. Actions may continue, but the energy behind them feels strained. The universe senses that tension and reflects it through obstacles, delays, or a persistent feeling that something is missing. When authenticity enters the creative process, that tension begins to dissolve. Instead of forcing yourself into roles that feel unnatural, you begin expressing qualities that already live within you: curiosity, creativity, compassion, determination, or insight. These qualities carry a natural enthusiasm because they are connected to your deeper identity. The universe responds strongly to this enthusiasm because it reflects a state of alignment rather than conflict. Your actions no longer appear as attempts to become someone else. They become expressions of who you truly are. Consider a woman named Mira who once believed that success required constant competition. Early in her career, she observed colleagues who appeared aggressive and relentless in their pursuit of advancement. Convinced that this behavior was necessary, she began imitating it. She pushed herself to match their intensity, spoke with forced confidence, and approached every opportunity as though it were a battle she had to win. Although her efforts gained attention, she felt increasingly disconnected from the work she once loved. Her emotional state was tense rather than inspired. One evening, Mira attended an event where she listened to a speaker describe the importance of authentic leadership. The speaker explained that the most influential individuals are not those who imitate others, but those who express their natural strengths with honesty and enthusiasm. As Mira reflected on these words, she realized that her true strengths had always been creativity and empathy. She had originally chosen her profession because she enjoyed developing ideas and helping others succeed, not because she wanted to compete relentlessly. Gradually, Mira began shifting the way she approached her work. Instead of forcing herself into a competitive posture, she returned to the qualities that felt genuine to her. She focused on developing innovative solutions and supporting the growth of the people around her. The change was subtle at first, but her energy became noticeably lighter. Conversations felt more natural, collaborations became more productive, and the projects she worked on began attracting attention for their originality. Within a year, she had advanced further than she had during the entire period when she tried to imitate others. Her success came not from intensity alone, but from the authenticity of the energy she brought into her work. Delight plays an important role in maintaining this authenticity. Delight is the quiet joy that arises when you engage with something that resonates with your natural curiosity and creativity. It is not the fleeting excitement that depends on external praise or achievement. Instead, it is the simple pleasure of participating fully in the process of creation. When you feel delight in your work or in your goals, the emotional vibration you generate becomes vibrant and attractive. The universe reflects this energy by opening pathways that allow the experience to continue expanding. Many people believe persistence must always involve strain and determination. They imagine that success requires pushing through constant resistance with sheer willpower. While determination certainly has its place, the most sustainable form of persistence is gentle rather than forceful. Gentle persistence means returning to your intention again and again with patience and calm confidence. Instead of demanding immediate results, you allow the process to unfold gradually while maintaining alignment with your vision. This approach keeps your emotional state balanced, preventing the frustration that often arises when progress appears slow. Imagine a gardener tending a growing orchard. Each day the gardener waters the soil, removes weeds, and ensures that the trees receive enough sunlight. Yet the gardener does not demand that fruit appear immediately. Growth follows its own rhythm, guided by natural cycles that cannot be rushed. Gentle persistence mirrors this approach. You continue nurturing your intention through consistent action and positive emotion, trusting that the results will emerge when the conditions are ready. Authenticity, delight, and gentle persistence work together as a harmonious system. Authenticity ensures that your goals reflect who you truly are, rather than who you believe you must pretend to be. Delight infuses the journey with energy that sustains motivation and creativity. Gentle persistence maintains the steady rhythm of progress without exhausting your spirit. When these three qualities align, your actions become both purposeful and enjoyable. The universe responds to this balanced vibration by reflecting opportunities that support the continuation of your path. You may notice that people who embody these qualities often appear calm and confident even during periods of uncertainty. Their progress may not always be immediate, but their direction remains clear because their efforts arise from authenticity and delight. They rarely lose the sense of meaning behind their work. Each step forward feels like an expression of their identity rather than an obligation imposed from outside. This emotional clarity creates a signal that the universe easily recognizes and supports. The creative process becomes far more fulfilling when you allow these qualities to guide your actions. Instead of measuring your worth by how quickly results appear, you focus on maintaining alignment with the person you are becoming. Each moment of authentic expression strengthens your connection with the life you are creating. Each experience of delight reminds you that creation itself can be joyful, and each act of gentle persistence keeps your intention alive long enough for the universe to respond with opportunities that match your energy. When authenticity, delight, and persistence work together, manifestation becomes less about chasing outcomes and more about embodying a way of being. You are no longer forcing life to deliver results. You are participating in the unfolding of possibilities through the truth of your own character. The universe listens carefully to the emotional signature of this participation, and when it recognizes the harmony between who you are and what you seek to create, it responds by reflecting a reality that supports both your growth and your joy. I want you to look at something that most people misunderstand when they begin consciously shaping their lives. They believe that once they understand the laws of vibration, belief, and alignment, life should become smooth and effortless forever. They expect that challenges will disappear completely, yet the deeper truth is more interesting than that. Growth in consciousness does not eliminate contrast, it refines the way you understand it. Contrast, the moments when life shows you what you do not prefer, becomes one of the most powerful tools through which awareness evolves. Instead of being obstacles, these moments become signals guiding you toward greater clarity about what you truly desire. Contrast is often the beginning of transformation. When you experience something uncomfortable, your awareness becomes sharper. You recognize the difference between what you are experiencing and what you truly want. That recognition creates a new intention. Without contrast, many desires would never form because the mind would remain satisfied with whatever is already familiar. In this way, contrast acts like a teacher. It shows you the edges of your current perspective and invites you to expand beyond them. Imagine a young artist named Leo who had always believed he wanted stability above all else. He chose a career that promised security, but over time he began feeling restless and uninspired. Each day felt predictable, and the creative spark he once loved seemed to fade. At first he interpreted this dissatisfaction as a problem, yet the discomfort he felt was actually contrast revealing a deeper truth about his nature. The experience of monotony clarified something important. What he truly desired was creative freedom. That realization became the beginning of a new direction in his life. Contrast therefore refines consciousness by revealing what matters most to you. It forces attention toward the difference between the life you are living and the life you wish to create. When you respond to contrast with awareness rather than frustration, it becomes an instrument of growth. Instead of complaining about what feels wrong, you begin asking what the experience is teaching you. This shift transforms contrast from an obstacle into a guide. As your awareness grows through these experiences, another faculty begins strengthening within you: intuition. Intuition is the quiet inner guidance that emerges when the mind becomes receptive to deeper understanding. It does not speak in loud commands or dramatic visions. Instead, it appears as subtle impressions, an idea that feels right, a sense that a particular path carries meaning, or a gentle hesitation when something is not aligned with your well-being. Intuition develops most clearly when you learn from contrast rather than reacting to it emotionally. Consider how Leo responded after recognizing the lesson hidden in his dissatisfaction. Instead of immediately abandoning his responsibilities, he began paying closer attention to his intuition. He noticed which activities energized him and which drained his spirit. When he spent time sketching ideas for creative projects, he felt a quiet sense of excitement that logic alone could not explain. Gradually, he followed those intuitive signals, dedicating small portions of his time to developing his artistic work. Months later, one of those projects attracted unexpected attention. opening the door to opportunities that allowed him to transition into a career that felt far more authentic. Intuition guided Leo because he listened carefully to the signals emerging from his own consciousness. The universe often communicates through this internal guidance system. When you align with your deeper intentions, intuition becomes the bridge between desire and action. It reveals steps that cannot always be predicted through analysis alone. The more you trust these subtle impressions, the more clearly they guide you toward experiences that match your evolving awareness. Reciprocity also plays an important role in the refinement of consciousness. The universe is not a one-directional system in which you simply receive outcomes based on your thoughts. It operates through a continuous exchange of energy. What you give to life through your attention, your actions, and your emotional tone returns to you through experiences that mirror that energy. Reciprocity is the balance between expression and reception. When you offer kindness, creativity, and genuine engagement with the world, those qualities begin circulating through your environment and eventually return in ways that support your journey. This principle becomes visible in everyday interactions. When you approach others with openness and respect, relationships tend to grow more cooperative and meaningful. When you contribute ideas generously, new ideas often appear through collaboration. The energy you offer becomes part of the larger field of exchange, shaping your life. Reciprocity ensures that the universe remains dynamic and responsive rather than static. Every interaction becomes part of the creative dialogue between your consciousness and the world around you. As contrast clarifies your desires, intuition guides your actions, and reciprocity shapes your interactions. Consciousness gradually refines itself. The person you become through this process is different from the person who first began the journey of manifestation. Awareness deepens. Emotional reactions become more balanced. You begin responding to life with curiosity rather than resistance. Challenges still appear, but they are no longer interpreted as failures. Instead, they are recognized as signals pointing toward further growth. This refinement of consciousness changes the way you perceive the universe. Instead of seeing life as a sequence of isolated events, you begin recognizing the patterns connecting them. A moment of contrast leads to a new insight. That insight awakens intuition. Following intuition creates opportunities for meaningful exchange. Each step becomes part of an evolving cycle through which awareness expands. The universe reflects this expansion by presenting experiences that match your increasing clarity. Perhaps the most important aspect of this process is patience. Refinement does not happen instantly, just as a sculptor gradually shapes a piece of stone into a work of art. Consciousness evolves through repeated experiences and reflections. Each moment of contrast offers another opportunity to choose awareness over reaction. Each intuitive insight guides you toward greater alignment. Each act of reciprocity strengthens the connection between you and the world you influence. Over time, this process leads to a remarkable transformation. Life no longer feels like a series of random challenges you must endure. It begins to feel like an intelligent system through which your awareness continues to grow. The universe becomes a partner in your evolution, reflecting the lessons you learn and the intentions you refine. What once appeared as difficulty becomes evidence that your consciousness is expanding beyond previous limitations. Contrast sharpens your understanding. Intuition reveals your direction. Reciprocity keeps the flow of energy balanced. Together they form a cycle through which consciousness becomes more refined, more aware, and more aligned with the creative intelligence of the universe. And as this refinement continues, the reality you experience begins reflecting not only what you desire, but the deeper wisdom you have developed along the journey of becoming who you truly are. I want you to understand something that only becomes clear near the end of the journey we have been exploring together. Many people begin learning about manifestation with a single question: how can I make what I want happen faster? The mind loves speed. It wants proof, results, visible change. But the deeper you move into the relationship between consciousness and reality, the more you begin to recognize a quieter truth. Manifestation is not a race. It is a dance, and like any dance, it unfolds through rhythm, timing, and harmony between partners. In this case, the partners are your awareness and the infinite intelligence that shapes the unfolding of life. Divine timing is the recognition that the universe does not operate according to the urgency of the human mind. It moves according to alignment. When the emotional state, belief, and intention within you become coherent enough, circumstances begin arranging themselves in ways that allow your desire to appear naturally. From the outside, this can look like coincidence or luck, but from within the deeper perspective of consciousness, it is simply the moment when internal alignment meets external opportunity. Imagine planting a seed in fertile soil. You water it, give it sunlight, and care for the environment in which it grows. Yet, you cannot demand that the seed become a tree tomorrow morning. Growth follows a rhythm that belongs to life itself. The same principle applies to manifestation. Your role is to cultivate the inner conditions: belief, clarity, emotional alignment that allow the seed of your intention to grow. The universe then arranges the timing through which that seed becomes visible in the physical world. Many people interrupt this natural rhythm through impatience. They plant the seed of an intention, then dig it up repeatedly to check whether it is working. Doubt becomes stronger than trust, and the emotional vibration begins shifting from certainty to worry. When this happens, the creative process slows because the signal being sent into the universe becomes inconsistent. Divine timing therefore requires something deeper than patience. It requires faith in the invisible stages of creation. Faith is often misunderstood as blind belief without evidence. In the context of manifestation, faith is something more practical. It is the calm confidence that arises when you understand the laws through which consciousness interacts with reality. You know that your thoughts, emotions, and expectations are shaping the energetic field around you. You know that alignment eventually produces results. Faith therefore becomes the steady emotional state that allows the process to unfold without constant interference from doubt. This faith transforms ordinary actions into what we might call living prayer. Prayer, in its deepest sense, is not merely asking the universe for something. It is the act of aligning your entire being with the reality you are inviting into existence. When your thoughts reflect confidence, your emotions reflect gratitude, and your actions reflect integrity, you are already expressing the vibration of the life you wish to experience. That expression itself becomes a prayer not spoken with words, but lived through your presence in the world. Think of someone who moves through life with quiet gratitude and generosity. They may never formally ask the universe for abundance, yet opportunities seem to appear naturally around them. This is not accidental. Their daily state of appreciation and openness creates a vibrational signal that the universe responds to. Their way of living becomes a continuous prayer of alignment, and life responds by reflecting the harmony they embody. Living prayer also means trusting that the universe often sees connections beyond what your mind can currently understand. Sometimes events unfold in ways that appear slow or confusing at first. Opportunities may arrive later than expected or through paths you did not originally imagine. Yet when you look back on these moments, you often discover that the timing allowed circumstances to align more perfectly than you could have planned. Divine timing is not delay. It is coordination within a system far larger than individual perspective. Imagine a musician performing with an orchestra. Each instrument enters at a precise moment so that the entire composition forms a coherent piece of music. If a violin begins too early or a trumpet arrives too late, the harmony of the performance is disrupted. In a similar way, the universe coordinates countless elements, people, events, insights, and opportunities so that your manifestation arrives at the moment when those elements can work together. Divine timing is the conductor guiding that orchestration. When you understand this, the creative process becomes less stressful and far more meaningful. Instead of forcing outcomes, you focus on maintaining alignment. Each day becomes an opportunity to embody the qualities associated with the reality you desire: confidence, gratitude, curiosity, generosity, or love. These qualities strengthen the vibration that eventually attracts the corresponding experiences. The universe responds not only to what you want, but to who you are becoming while you pursue it. This is why manifestation can be described as an eternal dance. Your consciousness expresses intention through thought and feeling. The universe responds by arranging possibilities. You take action guided by intuition. The environment shifts in response to that action. Step by step, the dance continues. Sometimes the rhythm is fast, sometimes slow, but the partnership remains constant. You are never creating alone. As this awareness deepens, something remarkable happens. Your relationship with desire itself begins to change. Instead of feeling anxious about the future, you become curious about how life will unfold. Instead of measuring success only by external results, you recognize the transformation occurring within your consciousness. Each moment of alignment, each act of living prayer, becomes part of the creative process. The joy of participating in the dance becomes just as meaningful as the outcomes it produces. Eventually, you realize that manifestation is not a single event that happens once your desires appear. It is a continuous exchange between your awareness and the universe. New intentions arise, new possibilities form, and the dance begins again. Divine timing continues, guiding the rhythm, and living prayer continues shaping the energy you offer to the world. So as you move forward from this journey of understanding, remember that you are not merely waiting for the universe to deliver the life you want. You are participating in an ongoing partnership with the creative intelligence of existence itself. Your thoughts set direction, your emotions provide energy, your faith maintains the rhythm, and divine timing arranges the moment when intention becomes reality. And within that sacred rhythm, the dance of manifestation continues endlessly, inviting you again and again to create, align, and experience the unfolding beauty of a life lived in harmony with the infinite.